Chapter 246. Speaking of which, Li Zongjio felt a little embarrassed. He, the evil lord of this generation, was actually hunting down a junior. It was really a little embarrassing. Fortunately, no one could recognize Li Zongjio, so it was not a big deal. Moreover, these people had already conspired with Li Changjiang. Based on this, they had already been sentenced to death by Li Zongjio. When the multi-face fox saw Li Zongjio descending in front of him, his heart sank. Shirley took the lead, and said disdainfully, while looking at Li Zongjio in front of him, "He's just one person. What's there to be afraid of? Everyone. The Shi family will give 1 million gold coins to whoever kills him." 1 million gold coins was not a high price for a Supreme General level enemy, but it was definitely not a low price either. Under normal circumstances, once one fought with others, it was very likely that one would provoke a Supreme General level enemy. Now that he had killed this Supreme General level enemy, he could even get money. This 1 million gold coins directly went into one's pocket. As long as one was a human, one would be excited and even eager to make a move. The multi-face fox pondered for a while. It was definitely not easy to catch Li Zongjio in front of him. Li Zongjio's mastery of Yuan power, in addition to his mysterious means, was able to kill Luo Lang and the others back then. In fact, the multi-face fox had already been afraid of Li Zongjio for a long time. This was a life and death process. If he made the slightest mistake, he would end up dead. The multi-face fox immediately gritted his teeth. "Young hero, this person and I are in an employer-employee relationship. I don't insist on being your enemy. We won't accept this business." The multi-face fox immediately raised his hand and said, then put away his bow and arrow. Li Zongjio was an expert in archery. Naturally, he had to hide in the dark. Since he was already in the open, how could he have the opportunity to display his advantage? Moreover, he did not know how strong Li Zongjio was. Li Zongjio was stronger than he had imagined. Therefore, surrendering now was the wisest move. Li Zongjio glanced at the multi-face fox in front of him. Only the multi-face fox surrendered. Even the subordinates of the multi-face fox were not willing to appear. After all, 1 million gold coins was a fatal temptation to them. The most direct result was of course death. "Today none of you can leave," Li Zongjio said, shaking his head. He was not a kind person, he had his own principles. Even if the multi-face fox wanted to disassociate himself, it did not mean that he did not want to kill him. "Your Excellency, are you trying to force us into a dead end?" Hearing Li Zongjio's words, the multi-face fox was shocked. Soon his face turned gloomy. Since Li Zongjio did not intend to let him go, there was nothing else to say. He could only fight to the death. "Of course, you can choose to kill yourself," Li Zongjio said. In Li Zongjio's eyes, he didn't put these people in front of him in his eyes at all. If they were a little sensible and chose to commit suicide, then this matter would be considered over, and he wouldn't have to do anything. "A cornered dog will jump over a wall. Since you want me dead, I will not let you live." Just as the multi-face fox and Li Zongjio were negotiating, Shirley had secretly organized his men. Soon a group of people rushed towards Li Zongjio. "Kill him!" Shirley's subordinates attacked one after another. Seeing this, Li Zongjio flicked his finger. The obsidian fire spread out and turned into sparks of fire. In an instant, it entered the bodies of these people. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. These people raised the sabers in their hands and were ready to kill Li Zongjio. However, they already felt their bodies gradually melting. All of their strength could not be gathered together. In the end, they fell to the ground with a plop. Their bodies were completely melted. Boom! It was as if a cloud of smoke spread out and burned on the spot. Some people wanted to retreat when they saw this scene. However, Li Zongjio's fire followed closely and instantly entered their bodies with a boom. He could only make a horrified expression before his entire body was burned to ashes. 9 consecutive shots, the multi-face fox exclaimed. At the same time, the bow in his hand fluctuated continuously. Boom, 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 boom. Continuous rumbling sounds could be heard, and the air in front of him seemed to be torn apart. It was directly torn into countless pieces. This terrifying aura blasted out and swept toward Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio stood in the same spot. Facing this sudden attack, he did not panic. The 9 sharp arrows shot by the opponent directly circled in the air and swept toward Li Zongjiu from different angles. Li Zongjiu opened his palm. Suddenly, a flame rose from his palm. The flame suddenly rolled up and immediately swept away the arrows in front of him. Boom! Boom! Before any of the arrows could even get close to Li Zongjiu, they were already enveloped by the flames and burned to ashes. Li Zongjiu's obsidian fire. It seemed to form a very domineering self-protection barrier. Therefore, no matter which direction the opponent attacked from, they could easily take it down. He easily blocked it. What? Seeing that his arrows were burned into powder, the multi-faced fox was extremely shocked. Without hesitation, he directly turned and rushed toward the big tree. The only way at this moment was to escape. Of course, this was on the premise that he could escape. Li Zongjiu pinched a fireball with one hand and threw it forward. This fireball instantly drew a perfect arc in the sky and directly landed on the multi-faced fox's body. Ah! The multi-faced fox screamed. His body directly turned into a pile of ashes in the air. Shirley watched helplessly as more than 10 people were burned to ashes. Some of them didn't even have time to scream. However, Shirley could feel how intense the pain these people endured before they died was. These people couldn't be described as simple. The process of being burned to death must have been very long. It was really shocking. Now that everyone was dead, only Shirley was left. He stood alone among the ashes, trembling in fear, as he watched Li Zongjiu in front of him approach. If you kill me, you will never know where the meteorite is. Shirley had accurately grasped his final bargaining chip. If he couldn't even negotiate with Li Zongjiu with this bargaining chip, then he would just have to fight to the death. However, Shirley was still so young. He did not want to die, and he did not want to die so soon. Hearing Shirley's words, Li Zongjiu's mouth curved into a cold smile. You still want to threaten me? You want to threaten the great evil lord Li Zongjiu? Even if you don't want to say it, Li Zongjiu has at least 100 ways to make you spit out the location of the item. However, that would be a waste of time and energy. You don't come over. As long as you don't kill me, I will give it to you. How about it? I am still very young. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Shirley suddenly cried and shouted. Under the pressure of Li Zongjiu's aura, he directly knelt down in front of Li Zongjiu. With both hands, he handed over his storage ring to Li Zongjiu. This is the meteorite. Take it, take it. I won't tell my father. I will never tell my father. Shirley said repeatedly. His actions were to make Li Zongjiu let him go. Li Zongjiu had been out for so long, of course. He had to abide by the rules of Jianghu. How could he not be honest? If he said he would kill Shirley, then he would kill Shirley. There was no room for negotiation on this point. Li Zongjiu took the storage ring from Shirley's hand. He revealed a trace of a smile. You've done well. Hearing Li Zongjiu's words, Shirley raised his head, thinking that there might be a way out for him. However, when he raised his head, he saw a black flame descending like a lotus flower. Boom! Shirley's whole body was swallowed by the flame. Although he was very spineless, Shirley did the right thing. In front of Li Zongjiu, no matter if he resisted or escaped, it was futile. The only thing he could do was to lie on the ground quietly. Wait for death. Chapter 247. Li Zongjiu's powerful strength was a desperate struggle for anyone. He opened the storage ring. Shirley was really a coward. He took the initiative to give the storage ring to Yi Shiwen. Inside the storage ring, there was a stone the size of a rice jar. The stone was completely black, and on the surface, it looked like a metal ball. There were also some potholes on it, as if it was a pit on the ground. It's really you. Yi Shiwen looked at the black stone in his hand. This was just the surface. The core power was the power of a crystal stone hidden in the meteorite. This crystal stone was very famous in Yi Shiwen's previous life. That frightening aura was truly shocking. In Yi Shiwen's previous life, the person who was in charge of this crystal stone was one of Li Zongjiu's early opponents. He was an primitive emperor expert. However, he was trampled under Li Zongjiu's feet later on. However, this crystal stone was also known as the Boundless Stone. The effect of the never-ending stone was extremely obvious in the early stages. It could increase the mental strength cultivation speed of the primitive emperor realm by up to 50%. At the same time, it had a very obvious effect in assisting mental strength attacks. It could be considered as a divine tool among the mental strength masters. This level of existence made some mental strength masters scramble for it. The appearance of this thing is likely to attract the attention of some powerful mental strength masters. I have to be careful. Li Zhongjie kept the meteorite for the time being. After all, this thing existed. It was also extremely easy to attract some experts. With Li Zhongjie's current mental strength, it was still very dangerous for him to face some powerful mental strength masters. These mental strength masters could kill people invisibly, just like when Xiaoye went to deal with Luo Sha and the others. Under normal circumstances, with Xiaoye's strength, she would definitely not be a match for the three of them. However, after Xiaoye attacked, she directly hypnotized the three of them. In this way, she would directly send them into a dream. It would be an easy task to kill them. However, I have the obsidian flame protecting me now. It is almost impossible for ordinary mental strength masters to kill me silently. Since I have the item, there is no need to stay any longer. Li Zhongjie did not turn back to destroy the Shi family. Shi Lei and the others from the Shi family disappeared on the spot, along with the meteorite from outer space. In addition, Qingyuan Mountain Villa had already made contact with the Shi family. Now that they could not find the person or the item, the Shi family would not have an easy time. Even if Li Zhongjie did not take action, the Shi family would not be able to hold on for long. The Wolf Ivory Mountain Valley was also in a state of chaos. Originally, Shi Wuhan and Yang Yan could be said to be evenly matched. In fact, Shi Wuhan was faintly suppressing Yang Yan. However, after using half of the Ice Demon Stone, it suddenly became powerless. It directly shattered on the spot. At this time, Shi Wuhan was also shocked. However, there was no doubt that this item had been tampered with. It was not a complete Ice Demon Stone, but a fake one. Therefore, it caused Shi Wuhan to be instantly crushed by Yang Yan. Yang Feiyu, who went to fight for the meteorite, also withdrew. Yang Feiyu's strength was not weak. After joining the battle, the Shi family members once again felt a strong pressure. Most importantly, Shi Wuhan only saw Yang Feiyu return. He did not see his son Shi Lei come back. Quickly go and find out Shi Lei's whereabouts. Shi Wuhan immediately roared. Two elders also immediately withdrew and rushed into the valley. After a while they returned to report. Shi Lei was nowhere to be seen. Young family brat, where is my son Shi Lei? Shi Wuhan immediately roared at Yang Feiyu. At this time, he had a feeling that he wanted to eat Yang Feiyu. However, Yang Feiyu only smiled disdainfully. Your son is asking me? He is not my son. Why are you asking me? Hearing Yang Feiyu's unreasonable provocation, Shi Wuhan's lungs were about to explode from anger. He gnashed his teeth and hated Yang Feiyu to the bone. Today I will kill you. A terrifying force blasted towards Yang Feiyu. However, it was easily blocked by Yang Yan. The fire dragon shears in his hand once again regained its divine might. Facing Shi Wuhan, Yang Yan said in an indifferent tone, Shi Wuhan, you want to kill my son? Do you think you have the ability to do so? Yang Yan was naturally happy to see Shi Wuhan flustered and exasperated. At the same time, after his strength recovered, he suppressed Shi Wuhan in front of him. Initially, the Shi family had invited quite a number of experts, intending to keep the Yang family here for good. However, on the way here, Li Zhongjie had already killed the entire Lupus gang. The multi-faced fox and the others also brought people to escort Shi Lei. However, they did not return. It was likely that they had met with misfortune. Or it could be said that something else had happened that Shi Wuhan did not know about. As a result, the Shi family's momentum was also scattered. There was no way for them to concentrate their strength to defeat the Yang family. Do you feel that there is no helper? Don't worry. If the Shi family is prepared, the Yang family will naturally treat you with great gifts. Yang Yan's voice faded. Yang Hongyu, who was beside him, immediately released a signal flare, which soared into the sky. Boom! It exploded in the sky. The moment the signal flare appeared, the people in the sky were shocked. Immediately, a large group of elite cavalrymen, who had been lying in ambush on the surrounding mountain peaks, rushed down. What? The surrounding vibrations and whistling sounds caused the people below to be startled. Kill! The Sher family's position was instantly destroyed. Many people were directly assassinated by the cavalry that swooped down. Savage Horse Hero Group. When Sher Wuhan saw the cavalry that suddenly appeared, his pupils immediately shrank. These people had been lurking at the side for a long time. To think that Yang Yan also had the intention to kill him. I have already said that the Sher family will not leave today, Yang Yan said with a cold smile. The two families had been fighting for so many years. They knew clearly what each other was thinking. Therefore, Yang Yan also knew very well what these people would do. And he was also prepared. Yang Hongyu, who was beside him, also walked forward and ordered the people of the Savage Horse Hero Group. This plan was also provided by Yang Hongyu. Last night, Yang Hongyu had rushed back to the city and gathered his men. Early in the morning, these men had been hiding in the surroundings since the start of the battle. As long as Yang Hongyu gave the order, they would immediately attack and kill all of these people. I didn't expect you to come too. He Xiong looked at the leader of the Savage Horse Hero Group with a trace of surprise in his eyes. The two of them were acquaintances and had cooperated with each other before. The temperament of the Savage Horse Hero Group and the others was quite to their liking. Moreover, they were also good people. The sudden appearance of the Savage Horse Hero Group directly caught the Sher family off guard. They did not expect that the other party had been hiding until now. Retreat! Sher Wuhan shouted. At this moment, it was already impossible for him to reap any benefits from this. I don't know where those people from Qing Yuan Manor are hiding. Although I didn't have much hope for them in the beginning, at least you guys keep your word a little bit. However, at this moment, Sher Wuhan probably did not know that the people he counted on had all been burned into a pile of ashes. Even if they wanted to come out and help the Sher family, it was already impossible. They can't escape. Fire Dragon Scissors kill them. After paying such a high price, how could Yang Yan let the Sher family escape so easily? He had to pay a painful price for it. The Fire Dragon Scissors suddenly bloomed with a terrifying light, spreading forward. In an instant, the Fire Dragon Scissors turned into two dragons, engulfing the Sher family people. Rumble! Ah! My leg! Run quickly! Retreat quickly! They are crazy! Puff! Smoke immediately rose from all over the place. In the end, Sher Wuhan was barely able to escape under the protection of a few elders who went all out. As for the remaining people, they were completely left behind in the Wolf Ivory Mountain Range. In this bloody battle, more than 9 elders of the Sher family were killed. Even if Sher Wuhan could escape, it was estimated that the Sher family would not be able to continue its former glory and would soon be replaced by other forces. Chapter 248. Some itinerant cultivators in the vicinity of Lower Kingstown had witnessed this bloody battle. At the same time, they had also witnessed the rise and fall of a great power. The one that had fallen was naturally the Sher family, although they weren't completely sure. Since the Yang family dared to do this, they naturally had a way to completely crush the Sher family and never give them a chance to rise again. Fei Yu, where did Sher Lei and the black-robed men go? Yang Yan asked in a deep voice as he and the others rested on the side and directed the cleanup process on the battlefield. Given the strength of the Sher family and the preparations that the other party had made, it was naturally obvious that these people were not weak. They were also very well prepared, so it was impossible to let them go so easily. However, the speed at which the battle ended was also dumbfounding. Some people couldn't believe it. That was why Yang Yan asked this question. Not only that, but the protector of Wuxia Pill sect, Li Zongjiu, had also disappeared. The meteorite had been taken away, so it was very likely that it was with Sher Lei and the black-robed men who had disappeared. Being able to defeat the Sher family this time was already a considerable victory. With such an advantage, the Yang family was extremely excited. The Yang family had already profited greatly. Of course, if they could obtain the meteorite, it would be a double blessing. Father, those black-robed men were all killed by the expert invited by third brother. In addition, Sher Lei, the multi-faced fox, and the others left with the meteorite. However, Protector Li has already chased after them. I don't know how the battle is going. Those black-robed men were all killed by him? Although they didn't know the identity of the other party for the time being, there was no doubt that the appearance of the Ice Demon Stone was definitely related to this faction. As for that Li Zongjio, he had killed so many people without making a sound. Furthermore, he had relied on his own strength to do so. This was indeed a little exaggerated. Yes, if I'm not wrong, the strength of those 7 people was above the Yuan general realm. However, in front of Protector Li, they didn't have the slightest ability to fight back. Yang Feiyu told them about the shocking scene he had seen. Even if he told them about it, most people wouldn't believe him. But it was the truth. What? Second brother, don't talk nonsense. Even Yang Feihong couldn't believe it. 1 against 7. And it was an instant kill. How is this possible? Is he Superman? Even Superman couldn't be so powerful. This was too much of a boast. I saw it with my own eyes. Protector Li's strength far surpasses ours. Seeing the look of admiration on Yang Feiyu's face, Yang Yan was slightly surprised. One must know that Yang Yan understood his son very well. Yang Feiyu's arrogance was even more so. It was as if he was the only one in the world who knew how to cultivate. However, this also proved that Yang Feiyu was extremely talented. There must be a reason why Yang Feiyu admired Li Zongjio so much. Hong Yu, you must find Protector Li when you return to the city. Our Yang family also needs to make friends with such powerhouses. If he was already so powerful at such a young age, how powerful would he be in a few more years? Furthermore, to have such a cultivation at such a young age, the power behind him must not be simple. It definitely wasn't as simple as it seemed. There must be an even more terrifying existence behind Li Zongjio. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to make friends with such a person. They couldn't afford to mess it up. Yes, father. Yang Hongyu hurriedly replied. Yang Hongyu had finally gained the attention of his father by assigning him such an important task. Feiyu, take some people and search for Shirlei. Find out what happened. Yes. Yang Feiyu once again took some people and chased after Shirlei. However, they might not be able to catch up with him. Perhaps he had already been dealt with by Li Zongjio. 2 days later, Li Zongjio had already left Lower Kong City behind. The Heavenly Star Medicine Manor's recruitment was only set up in second-class cities. Cities like Northern Medicine City weren't qualified either. In the second-class cities, Jadewave Giant City was still a distance away from Li Zongjio, and the nearest one was Northern Medicine City. To pass through Northern Medicine City, one must first pass through the boundary of Northern Medicine City. After Li Zongjio left Lower Kong City, he headed straight for Northern Medicine City. It was already a day and a half before he arrived at Northern Medicine City. Along the way, Li Zongjio had also collected some medicinal herbs in the depths of the forest. These herbs were only used to refine elixirs. The real top-grade elixirs were not so easy to collect. Just the guardian soul beast alone was enough to make you suffer. Initially, Li Zongjio came to Northern Medicine City in a hurry to kill everyone. Originally, he was only looking for trouble with the Northern Medicine Alliance. However, the City Lord Mansion appeared halfway, so Li Zongjio conveniently killed the City Lord. Li Zongjio did not know the current situation of Northern Medicine City. This time he came to change his horse. Northern Medicine City, City Lord Mansion. At this time, the City Lord Mansion of Northern Medicine City had been replaced by a handsome young man. When this young man took office, it could be said that people from all over came to congratulate him. No one dared to ignore this young man. Logically speaking, when such a young man took office, many of the old forces in the city would definitely make things difficult for him. However, this time it was unusual. They were incomparably supportive of some of the decisions made by this young man called Zhang Yu. Whoosh! A white figure landed in the courtyard. He quickly rushed into the study. Sir, urgent news. Zhang Yu stood in front of the desk, holding a pen in his hand. It hovered above the paper. When the pen in his hand fell, it carried a trace of cold light. It was done in one breath. On the paper he wrote the word sword, which was taller than a person. When the pen in his hand left the paper, the table also collapsed with a boom. The collapsed table made Zhang Yu frown. This last move, returning heart like arrow, I still can't control it well. After a long sigh, he put the pen in his hand aside and wiped his hands. Present it. The man in white quickly handed over the file in his hand. Zhang Yu opened the scroll in his hand and carefully read it. The corner of his mouth curved into a smile. Li Zongjio, what a good Li Zongjio. I've finally waited for you. Order the entire city to be under martial law for 3 days. No one is allowed to enter or leave. In addition, summon the patriarchs of the 4 big families to me for a meeting. That Li Zongjio must stay in the city. Yes, sir. Then, Zhang Yu put the scroll in his hand into a drawer. There were already 3 similar scrolls in the drawer. Just 2 days ago, all kinds of information were quickly sent to him. Now the entire Dingquan province knew about the meteorite. To others, its whereabouts were unknown. However, to Zhang Yu, it was very clear that it was on Li Zongjio. Ever since he had taken over this place, the first important person he had seen was Li Zongjio. The information only showed that Li Zongjio was only 16 years old. However, in the fog snow pellet sect, he had become a fog protector. Furthermore, he had recently led his own family and seemed to be on the rise. In Zhang Yu's eyes, all these things were very funny. Whether he was a dragon or a worm, he was destined to be born. No matter how hard an ordinary person tried, they couldn't change their fate. Only a person like him was destined to be superior. There will always be 2 worms who want to change their fate. I'll let you know that even if a worm changes its fate, it's still a worm. The corner of his mouth curved into a sinister smile. All along, Zhang Yu's image in Northern Medicine City was sunny and upright. Even his smile was extremely infectious. However, when there was no one around, he would reveal his true colors. Chapter 249. The post station was located not far from the city gate. There was a place specially set aside for the preparation of horses. Li Zongjio was also sitting on a chair to rest. He was also flipping through the daily updates of the Shengyan dynasty's school. This was a very good invention, but in some small places, there were not many people who could read. This thing was also called an official report. Some of the things published in the report were also things that the Shengyan dynasty wanted people to know. For ordinary people, it was enough to be able to obtain the information in the report. Relatively speaking, it was still quite authoritative. Next autumn, the crown prince will be appointed. So soon? Li Zongjio looked at the report. Now, the dozen or so princes of the royal family were all driven out of the palace. Some went to the border, some went to the border, some went to study, and some went to do business. Of course, it was not as simple as imagined, but in short, these princes could not be idle. If they wanted to be appointed as the crown prince, they had to make some achievements and let people know their strength. They also had to let the people of the world see their strength. Of course, there were also quite a lot of invisible battles. After all, they only had a year. In this year, they had to make some achievements and at the same time, they had to save their own lives. They had to become the master of the Shengyan dynasty and dominate the world. Who wouldn't want such supreme power? If I remember correctly, the crown prince seems to be the most inconspicuous 14th prince. This boy is very insidious, Li Zongjio thought. Li Zongjio still remembered these things from his previous life. After all, Li Zongjio had lived for 3,000 years. Most of his time was in the Shengyan dynasty. The changes in the world and some changes in the situation were closely related. He did not know if there would be other changes. After all, after his rebirth, many things would change. For example, Li Changjiang could have been in charge of the Li family, but because of Li Zongjio's appearance, his life was rewritten. Many fates would also be rewritten. For example, King Qing Yuan, who wanted to cause trouble. Oh right, the 14th prince, because he killed King Qing Yuan, became a favorable competitor, and finally succeeded in becoming the crown prince. Li Zongjio just read the report to pass some time. It was a hot afternoon, but Li Zongjio heard the sound of branches. He looked up and saw that the city gate was closing, and the notice board had already posted a martial law order. The reason for the martial law order was very nonsensical. In order to prevent the spread of the poison in the city was cleaning up. During this period, no one could enter or leave the city. Basically, Northern Medicine City was a place to grow spiritual herbs. Who didn't know the principle of keeping one's health and getting rid of insects? How could they use such an excuse? Did they really think that the ordinary people were idiots? Although they knew that the other party had casually found a reason. Once the city was under martial law, if they still wanted to force their way out, they would be chopped into 18 pieces or thrown into the dungeon. What's going on? Li Zongjio looked at the tightly shut city gate. In addition, a large number of city guards had also set up a formation at the city gate. No one was allowed to approach the city gate. Otherwise, they would be killed immediately. This kind of ferocious aura made the ordinary people somewhat unable to avoid it. It's under martial law. Don't worry. The young man of the courier station glanced at him and said, "Your horse is fine, but now it's under martial law. You can't leave. It seems that it will be closed for 2 or 3 days. You might as well stay here for 2 nights." This was too much of a coincidence. Although this small city gate couldn't stop Li Zongjio wasn't the kind of person who liked to cause trouble. Moreover, with his level of cultivation, his intuition told him that someone was watching him. Li Zongjio's intuition told him that this martial law might have something to do with him. Then I'd like to see who's so unafraid of death. Li Zongjio nodded. Since he couldn't leave the city, he might as well stay here for now. Just as well, he could take out the boundless stone in his hand. Li Zongjio found a cheap inn nearby. This inn only had 2 floors. The first floor was the dining area, called the canteen. The second floor was the guest room. There weren't many guest rooms, only 5 in total. When Li Zongjio arrived, there was only 1 room left. It was in the middle of the passage. Li Zongjio didn't suspect anything. After checking into the room, he sat on the bed. Although the room's environment was ordinary, for someone like Li Zongjio who had lived in the open, he didn't feel anything. If he took out the meteorite in this room, it would instantly smash through the floor. Therefore, Li Zongjio had to cut the meteorite in the storage ring. This made it more difficult, but with Li Zongjio's current mind power, it wasn't impossible. Whoosh! Li Zongjio sent his mind power into the storage ring. Li Zongjio's mind power also condensed into a thin line and gradually cut the meteorite. During the process of condensing his mind power and cutting the meteorite, Li Zongjio felt an extremely strong resistance. A repulsive force. It almost shattered Li Zongjio's mind power. This guy is so tenacious. Li Zongjio couldn't believe it. If he continued, his mind power would be crushed by the repulsive force. In that case, Li Zongjio's mind power would be damaged. However, this provided Li Zongjio with a way to temper his mind power. As long as he stopped at the end of this limit, he would be able to increase the power of his mind power by repeating this process. This is a good method. Although the stone of vast sea hasn't been taken out, it has the effect of restoring mind power. Li Zongjio thought. Although this method was a little difficult, why wouldn't he be happy if he could improve his mind power cultivation? It could be said that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to improve his mind power cultivation. Seems like I'll have to concoct more yuan-increasing elixirs to complement my cultivation. Otherwise, I'll still be in danger in the Imperial City. Once they passed the test of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, they would be sent to the manor to cultivate. The Heavenly Star Medicine Manor was located in Sacred Flame City. Sacred Flame City was filled with experts, and Yuan ancestor martialists, and even Yuan monarch martialists could be seen everywhere. Of course, Yuan monarch martialists were basically the treasures of the various families. Under normal circumstances, they wouldn't show themselves easily. However, it wasn't difficult to meet some Yuan monarch martialists. It was precisely because of this that Li Zongjio needed more power, more strength, enough to protect himself. After he finished studying at the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, Li Zongjio would find a way to break through to the Absolute Saint Realm. After that, he would return to Wuxia City and build his own territory and power. He wanted to protect the Li family and ensure that they could survive in the midst of the turbulent times of the world. Night fell. Li Zongjio tried to use the meteorite to temper his mind power several times. Although the process was extremely painful, he could feel the benefits it brought. Li Zongjio could feel the obvious benefits. Although his mind power hadn't broken through to the next level. Li Zhongjiu's mind power had become extremely resilient. Buzz, suddenly Li Zhongjiu felt an omen in his mind. Immediately, Li Zhongjiu exited his cultivation state. It's finally here? Chapter 250. The surroundings were silent. All of a sudden, the candle on the table in Li Zhongjiu's room flickered and went out. Petty tricks. Li Zhongjiu sneered, and the candle burned again. The burning flame continued to emit black smoke, which instantly filled the entire room. From the smoke, some flying insects seemed to emerge. They quickly landed on Li Zhongjiu's body. Buzz, buzz, buzz. These insects emitted an extremely annoying sound. Li Zhongjiu sat in the same spot without moving. Soon, these insects landed on Li Zhongjiu's body. They seemed to want to inject poison into Li Zhongjiu's body. However, there was no place to bite. There were too many poisonous insects. Hundreds and thousands of them landed on Li Zhongjiu's body. Li Zhongjiu's lips curled into a sneer. A mere illusion. How dare you be so presumptuous in front of this sovereign? Li Zhongjiu let out a cold snort. In the next moment, the poisonous bug that had landed on Li Zhongjiu's body actually started to burn crazily. Boom, boom, boom. Without exception, these poisonous insects were burned to ashes. Even some of the poisonous insects that were still flying in the air turned into sparks and landed on the floor. They seemed to turn into smoke and disappeared with the wind. This was the method of a spirit master. Spirit masters killed people invisibly. This was because an ordinary person would not be able to come into contact with this method. If Li Zhongjiu saw these poisonous bugs, he would be extremely terrified and would waste his physical strength in vain. In the end, he would also die from exhaustion of his yuan power. However, these poisonous bugs that emitted a buzzing sound could not be completely exterminated no matter how hard he tried, because they did not exist in the first place. How could he kill them all? The other party seemed to see that this method was not effective. He attacked again, and a black hole appeared on the floor in front of him. A huge claw reached out from the black hole and grabbed Li Zhongjiu's leg. Only an unknown length of arm reached out from the black hole. Li Zhongjiu was disdainful of this strange method. This is a method to scare children. Break. Li Zhongjiu ignited a black flame in the room. The appearance of this flame did not bring light to the surroundings. However, one could clearly feel the blazing existence within it. It emitted a force that could not be ignored. Following the appearance of this flame, there seemed to be an empty sound of bewilderment. Boom! Everything in front of him disappeared. Li Zhongjiu opened his eyes. He was still in the room and had not moved at all. The candle on the table was still there, undamaged and still burning quietly. Bang! The wall in front of him was suddenly smashed by a huge force. A figure walked out from behind the wall. His body was abnormally strong, and his arms were also wearing wrist guards made of black iron. He looked like a meat shield. The person who walked out was also panting heavily. His gaze was as firm as iron as it locked onto Li Zhongjiu. If Li Zhongjiu wanted to escape, the short axe in his hand would be thrown without hesitation. With the opponent's strength, the axe would hit its target with 100% accuracy at this distance. Hee, interesting. Your yuan force can actually attack mental strength. Not bad. A stooped old man walked out from behind the brawny man. A strong mind energy master, and a meat shield warrior. This combination was basically the nightmare of some lone wolves. Mind energy masters had many tricks up their sleeves. If one was not careful, they would fall for it. On top of that, there was a meat shield warrior who could hold you back. Even if you wanted to escape, it would not be that easy. A level 3 mind energy master, and a level 8 origin general. Is this all you can do? Li Zhongjiu spoke first without waiting for the other party to speak. In front of Li Zhongjiu, these two people had nowhere to hide. He saw through them at a glance. The old man was not surprised when he heard this. After all, Li Zhongjiu's mind energy cultivation was here. It was not strange that he could see through them. I did not expect you to be able to enter level 3 at such a young age. I am really curious, what kind of origin formula do you cultivate? The old man said indifferently. In his eyes, Li Zhongjiu was already in the bag. He could even chat with him. What was wrong with that? Come over here and I will tell you, Li Zhongjiu said. Hearing Li Zongjio's words, the old man's eyes gradually darkened. You are very happy with this skin. I want to see if you can still be so arrogant after I peel off your skin. Li Zongjio did not waste any time, and pulled out his 6 revolution steel blade. If the two of you can walk out of here today, I will no longer be called Li Zongjio. The purpose of these two people was to take Li Zongjio's life. There was no doubt about this. Li Zongjio's strength was not weak. He could withstand the opponent's mind energy attack. Otherwise, Li Zongjio would have been directly killed by the opponent's mind energy. Shameless boasting. If I don't break all the bones in your body today, Taihu will not be able to survive in the underworld. The brawny man roared, and waved the short axe in his hand. He first knocked on his shield, and let out a battle cry. Just this roar alone was enough to be heard clearly within 100 meters. But in fact, this one was already enveloped by the mind energy of the spirit master. Any movement here would not spread out, so they could act so wantonly to make it easier to kill. With the spirit master in charge, Li Zongjio could not easily use his mind energy to fight against Taihu in front of him. Otherwise, once he found an opening, he could be killed in an instant. Fighting against Taihu did not require mind energy. The origin energy in his body spread over the steel blade. It looked like the steel blade was carrying a little bit of fire. Boom! The origin energy carried the steel blade and slashed out. The blade chi was unparalleled and swift. Li Zongjio did not use any blade technique. Any blade technique was just to expand the power of this move to defeat the enemy. Li Zongjio's use of these weapons had already reached the level of returning to the original state. Therefore, there was no need for these ordinary blade techniques. The blade slashed out. Taihu directly pushed out the shield in his hand. He wanted to block Li Zongjio's move halfway. This way the power of the blade technique would be reduced. Most importantly, Li Zongjio's blade technique looked soft and weak, without the slightest bit of power to speak of. With your strength, I can crush you to death with one hand. Taihu's left hand exerted force. If Li Zongjio's strength was not enough, then the blade technique would hit the shield, and the force would be reflected. Just the power of the rebound would be enough to break Li Zongjio's arm. One must know that Li Zongjio's arm looked so weak that it could not withstand a single blow. Clang! However, Taihu's calculation was wrong. From the beginning, his perception was wrong. He originally wanted to block Li Zongjio's move halfway, but Li Zongjio's speed was faster. Before Taihu's shield arrived, Li Zongjio had already completed the burst of power. The moment the blade technique fell, the shield was directly cut in half. Intense sparks appeared on the dark steel shield. Not long after, the shield in Taihu's hand could no longer withstand the attack. Boom! The shield in Taihu's left hand instantly shattered. A wave of power also spread towards Taihu's arm, trying to invade it. It blasted into Taihu's arm. Even Taihu did not have time to react to this sudden surge of power. His expression was still frozen at the moment when his shield was broken by Li Zongjio. How is this possible? Crack! The clear sound of bones breaking made Taihu feel pain. Fuck! Taihu roared angrily. The axe in his hand also chopped towards Li Zongjio's head. If it hit, Li Zongjio's head would probably explode. However, Li Zongjio's speed was incomparably fast. The 6 revolution steel blade in his hand had already taken the lead, and directly chopped Taihu's wrist. Taihu's arm was directly chopped off by Li Zongjio. Fresh blood spurted out from the broken wrist. Another slash. Taihu's head directly rolled on the ground. The difference between the two could be said to be the difference between heaven and earth. If Li Zongjio wanted to kill Taihu, it was simply a matter of a thought. Seeing the meat shield warrior, who had been following him for so long, being so easily beheaded, the old man behind him was clearly shocked as well. Li Zongjio's strength was more powerful than he had expected. Chapter 251. At the same time, when Taihu died, he was already prepared. He took out a string of prayer beads from his wrist. With a flick of his finger, one of the prayer beads immediately flew in front of Li Zongjio. Whoosh! The power contained in this prayer bead was also very strong. It exploded in front of Li Zongjio. Boom! Suddenly, a light screen trapped Li Zongjio within it. Origin item? Li Zongjio looked at the item that his opponent had taken out. It was obviously very powerful. When he took out this item, he was obviously worried about Li Zhongjio's strength. He knew that he was no match for Li Zhongjio, or that Li Zhongjio was a threat. Therefore, he had to take down Li Zhongjio to prevent other situations from happening. The first prayer bead trapped Li Zhongjio, causing Li Zhongjio's movements to become extremely slow. Time seemed to have slowed down under this light screen. At the same time, it also gave Li Zhongjio a very strong pressure. Any consumption of energy would be 10 times more than usual. However, the time that this light screen could last was also very limited. The old man also knew this, so he didn't waste any time at all. He took out the other prayer bead again and aimed it at Li Zhongjio. Die Ghost Spear. As soon as he finished speaking, the prayer beads in the old man's hand instantly turned into a 1-meter-long black spear with red tassels. With a flick of his finger, the black ghost spear immediately rushed towards Li Zhongjio with terrifying power. Boom! Li Zhongjio stood in place, unable to dodge. He didn't even have time to block. Bang! The spear directly pierced Li Zhongjio's heart, sending Li Zhongjio flying. The light screen shattered, but Li Zhongjio had already been hit. Even if the light screen dissipated, it would be useless. Hee hee, young man, you are still too inexperienced. After using the ghost spear to hit Li Zhongjio, the old man was obviously very proud. One had to know that almost no one could block this move. He hadn't wasted his years in the martial arts world. Jianghu was a dangerous place. If he didn't prepare some life-saving items and deadly weapons, he wouldn't have been able to survive until now. That move just now was a result of countless experiments. Only then could he achieve such a perfect effect under such circumstances. If you are hit by the ghost spear, you will definitely die. I have never seen anyone who has survived. It's a pity that Iron Tiger's body is in such a good condition. If his head wasn't chopped off, he might be able to be refined into a puppet. The old man thought for a moment, and prepared to step forward and take Li Zhongjio's storage ring. After all, that meteorite was what he needed. To him, Li Zhongjio's life was just a matter of time. When the old man walked up, he saw Li Zhongjio lying on the ground with a spear in his chest. Obviously, this was a very tragic end. Just as the old man was about to take Li Zhongjio's storage ring, he saw Li Zhongjio's hand move. What? Li Zhongjio's hand directly reached out and grabbed the old man's throat. You are not dead. The old man wanted to use his mental strength, but Li Zhongjio was faster. He picked up the long sword next to him and chopped off the old man's head. Whoosh! This was the fate of a mental strength master after being closed in. He threw the head in his hand to the side. Li Zhongjio then pulled out the spear in his chest. Hiss! Even Li Zhongjio couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. What a coincidence! The dark force is ineffective against me? This ghost spear contained a terrifying dark yuan energy. It was because of this dark yuan energy that those who were struck by it had a 100% chance of dying. To ordinary people, this dark yuan energy was like a deadly poison. Once they came into contact with it, they would die very quickly. However, when Li Zhongjio was invaded by this dark essence energy, the black dragon origin spirit within his body directly absorbed this dark essence energy cleanly. As for his chest, it was only a superficial wound. Although it pierced his chest, Li Zhongjio's body was protected by the golden dragon origin spirit, and his heart was heavily wrapped by the golden dragon origin spirit. Under the protection of such a heavy armor, it could be said that he was unscathed. That old man probably didn't even dream of it. He had originally prepared a sure-kill move, but he actually encountered a body with immunity that was hard to come by in 10,000 years. The black dragon origin spirit in his body was a supreme existence of dark force in his previous life. Such a small amount of dark force wasn't even enough to fill the gaps between his teeth. The wound on his chest had already recovered in a few breaths of time. Li Zhongjio took the prayer beads from the old man's hand. There were 2 black prayer beads on it. Li Zhongjio directly crushed them and absorbed the dark force within. In addition, there were 2 white prayer beads. These were the origin tools that had previously trapped Li Zhongjio. The power of imprisonment. Unfortunately, this thing can only be used at close range, and the hit rate isn't high. If it's unexpected, there's a chance of success. Li Zhongjio observed for a while. This prayer bead needed to be used within a range of 10 meters, and it could only be maintained for a short 3 seconds. If an external force came into contact with it, the power of imprisonment would directly disappear. Therefore, it needed to be attacked with other origin tools. These people really came for me. It's a pity that I killed them too quickly. I don't even know who came to find trouble, Li Zhongjie thought. However, Li Zhongjie also found a token on these two people. Qingyuan. It's Qingyuan Manor again. Looks like these people's forces have already invaded more than half of Dingquan province. They didn't go to the bigger cities, but chose to jump around in such a place. These people are really bored. Li Zhongjie kept the 2 identity tokens. The front of the token was Qingyuan, while the back had their code names. Therefore, as long as he took it out and asked, he would know who was behind it. When Li Zhongjie found that person, it would be the end of that person's life. At this moment in the city lord's mansion, the patriarchs of the 4 great families received orders. They came to the city lord mansion for a meeting. However, when they arrived at the city lord mansion, they were asked to wait in the living room. Equals the combined age of the 4 of them was more than 200 years old. The combined power of the 4 great families was enough to turn northern Medicine City upside down several times. However, they were still obediently sitting on the chairs, drinking tea, and waiting for a young man who was not even 25 years old. Even if they were unhappy, they did not express it. The relationship between the 4 great families was also quite fierce. It was very rare for them to be able to sit here peacefully for so long. Sorry for the long wait. I was arranging some things just now, so I came a little late. Zhang Yu, who was dressed in white, walked out with a white jade belt around his waist. Just the jade on the belt alone was worth no less than 10 million gold yuan. This could be said to be very ostentatious, without the slightest intention of keeping a low profile. Seeing the arrogant Zhang Yu walk out, although he said that he had waited for a long time, he did not show the slightest trace of embarrassment on his face. It's fine, we also just arrived, the patriarch of the Hong family said. Among the 4 great families, the patriarch of the Hong family was the only one who was popular in many aspects. In terms of business, he was also the one who walked in the middle. However, when it came to a real outbreak, such people were usually the first to be eliminated or the first to fall out. Remember this person's appearance. Zhang Yu threw a picture scroll on the table. The person in the picture scroll looked exactly like Li Zhongjie. I want you to gather your men and do your best to arrest this person, Zhang Yu said indifferently. Hearing Zhang Yu's words, the first to be unable to sit still was the Mo family. The patriarch of the Mo clan had always advocated that if people didn't offend him, he wouldn't offend them. In addition, he also paid a lot of attention to business matters. Fighting and killing were all vulgar things. If he had to do this kind of thing personally, it would be too degrading. Moreover, Zhang Yu's tone seemed to be a little too much. The reason why the 4 great families were sitting here today was to give face to King Qingyuan and not to Zhang Yu. Otherwise, they would have already flipped the table and left. To be able to make the family's strength become the top family in northern Medicine City, the power in their hands was naturally not so simple. Zhang Yu, who had just injured people, actually wanted to use his words to casually order the 4 great families around. This was simply a fool's dream. City Lord Zhang, are you mistaken? We are all legitimate business families, and do some small businesses. The matter of arresting people is naturally left to the authorities and the city guards. The patriarch of the Mo family, Mo Xingshan said. Chapter 252. Mo Xingshan said. Naturally, Zhang Yu wasn't a simple person. Now that the patriarchs of the 4 great clans were here, how could they be suppressed by a mere Zhang Yu? If that was the case, wouldn't it be a huge loss of face for them? How could such a thing happen? We've already given you face and waited for you here. If we don't give you face, do you think you can overturn the heavens? You're the head of the Mo family, right? It's everyone's responsibility to protect the property of the northern Medicine City. Don't you agree? If you're not from the northern Medicine City, then I won't force you to take action. Tomorrow, bring your Mo family and leave the northern Medicine City. Zhang Yu said slowly. To be able to say such words, it was enough to see how arrogant Zhang Yu was. The influence and wealth of a giant clan in this city was immeasurable. If the Mo clan left just like that, then Northern Medicine City would not only lose an industrial chain, but also the entire city. Mo Xingshan sneered when he heard this. Mayor Zhang, aren't you overestimating your power? If you can get my Mo clan to leave Northern Medicine City with just a word, then the hundreds of people in my Mo clan wouldn't need to live anymore. In Mo Xingshan's eyes, Zhang Yu was too young. Usually, if you do something that doesn't hurt or itch, then for the sake of this Qingyuan villa, everyone won't bicker with you and let you play as you wish. However, his current actions were a little too much. Mayor Zhang, Brother Mo's clan manages 30% of the real estate industry in the city. If Brother Mo leaves Northern Medicine City, then even a third of Northern Medicine City will have to be cut off. It's true that amiability brings wealth, but it's wrong to think that others can step on his head just because he's amiable. Therefore, when Zhang Yu said such words, the four great clans were somewhat dissatisfied. It's true that civilians don't fight with officials, but if the four great clans were to join forces, it wouldn't be difficult to destroy a mayor without any foundation. Oh, so I can't touch the four of you? Upon hearing this, Zhang Yu coldly chuckled. The corner of his eyes contained a blade-like glint as he swept his gaze across the surrounding four clan heads. Upon hearing this, the hearts of the four clan heads sunk. If they were to truly fight, there would naturally be no benefits for either party. But no one was afraid of the other. If the four great clans were to suffer, Zhang Yu would be dead for sure. Don't be so full of yourself when you're young, Mo Xingshan said indifferently. It's impossible for my Mo clan to risk our lives for you. If you have the ability, just bring it on. After he finished speaking, Mo Xingshan flicked his sleeves and took the lead to leave. If he agreed to Zhang Yu's request today, his Mo clan would become Zhang Yu's property in the future. Zhang Yu could order them to come and go as he pleased. In that case, his Mo clan would naturally become a huge joke. He, Mo Xingshan, had also become a sinner of the Mo clan. Mo Xingshan wasn't the only one who understood this point. The other three patriarchs naturally understood this as well. However, Mo Xingshan's temper was still the most stubborn. Seeing Mo Xingshan turn around and leave, Zhang Yu's mouth curled into a cold smile. Just as Mo Xingshan's foot was about to step out of the door, Zhang Yu suddenly flipped his hand and slammed it on the table. Then, his entire body shot up and rushed towards Mo Xingshan. This terrifying aura exploded out and filled the entire area. Boom! Zhang Yu's aura was as ferocious as a giant beast. You want to kill me? Mo Xingshan wasn't an ordinary person. Seeing that Zhang Yu dared to take the initiative to attack, Mo Xingshan wasn't someone who could be trampled on. However, while Mo Xingshan's yuan power was still brewing in his body, Zhang Yu had already arrived in front of him and slammed his palm down. Boom! Mo Xingshan's shoulder was hit by this palm. Half of his body was dislocated. His bones were directly shattered. His heart was also squeezed to the point of bursting. Mo Xingshan spat out a mouthful of blood and knelt on the ground. His entire body looked so uncoordinated. Lowering his head, when he looked again, he was already dead. The appearance of this scene scared everyone out of their wits. Mo Xingshan's strength was the highest among all of them. He had reached the realm of a grade 7 origin general. However, in front of Zhang Yu, he couldn't even last one move. Seeing this, the three patriarchs stood up one after another. Their eyes were filled with shock. Zhang Yu came in front of Mo Xingshan's corpse and used a knife to cut off Mo Xingshan's head. The dignified patriarch of the Mo family died in the city lord's mansion just like that. No one would have thought that such a thing would happen. Hang this head above the city gate. This person dared to behave atrociously in the city lord's mansion. He attacked the city lord and threatened me. His actions are no different from robbers. Tomorrow, gather people and go to the Mo family. Arrest all the accomplices involved in this case and bring them to justice. Zhang Yu threw the head out of the door. There were already guards waiting outside. When they heard Zhang Yu's words, they immediately went to carry out the task. Zhang Yu took out a white handkerchief and wiped the blood off his hands. With a clean smile on his face, he looked at the remaining three patriarchs. I've dealt with the traitor. The family heads are witnesses. Is there anyone else who wants to attack this city lord? Zhang Yu's sunny and righteous image was clearly just a show. Now he was completely exposed in front of the three great clan heads. His viciousness had overturned the entire Mo clan's influence by casually assigning such a groundless crime. Of course, it was easy to talk about it. However, they had seen it with their own eyes. Mo Xingshan, a grade 7 origin general, could not even last one move in front of Zhang Yu. In addition, Zhang Yu deliberately released his aura just now. The remaining three patriarchs had already understood what was going on. Zhang Yu was actually a Sky Origin Ancestor level elite. Origin Ancestor realm. So young. Such a young Sky Origin Ancestor. When all these conditions were put together, it was no wonder that Zhang Yu was so arrogant. With Zhang Yu's strength and status in Northern Medicine City, it would not be an exaggeration to say that he could cover the sky with one hand. The remaining three patriarchs also understood that the other party did not care about their lives. The Mo clan's businesses would soon be packaged up and sold off. Even the city lord's mansion would personally nurture a force to take over these businesses. If they wanted the three great clans to be obedient, one of them had to die today. Zhang Yu was already prepared for this. It was just that Mo Xingshan took the lead and gave them such an obvious example. Anyone who saw this would suck in a breath of cold air. This was too ruthless. They weren't here to govern the city. They were here to control the city. To be able to be appointed here, the power of the Qingyuan villa must have already covered the sky with one hand and could manipulate the position of the officials at will. Based on Zhang Yu's revenge, he was not here to be the city lord for the long term. He was only here to solve the problem. City lord, rest assured. As long as this person is in the city, my Hong clan will find him even if we have to dig 3 feet into the ground and bring him before the lord. The clan head of the Hong clan immediately changed the topic and expressed his loyalty. That's right. My Hua clan will also spare no effort. My Su clan swears to eradicate this disaster. The other two patriarchs also said. Zhang Yu looked at the three patriarchs and nodded his head in satisfaction. There's no need to search. This person's heart is in the inn opposite the southern city gate station. Gather your men immediately and capture this person. When the time comes, I will reward you according to your contributions. When the time comes, I will personally award you with a banner. Hearing Zhang Yu's words, although the three patriarchs were cursing in their hearts, they still smiled on the surface. Soon after, they left to gather their men. It was obvious that he wanted the three of them to supervise each other. If anything happened, no one would be able to escape. After the three patriarchs left, Zhang Yu's eyes were filled with an ominous glint. You destroyed the Northern Medicine restaurant and killed Deacon Chang. I want to see how capable you are. In this city, I don't even need to lift a finger to take your life. Chapter 253. When Li Zongjiu arrived downstairs as expected, the innkeeper and waiters had all been killed. These people are really vicious and merciless. Looks like tonight won't be peaceful. Li Zongjiu did not leave. Instead, he took a bottle of wine and a stack of peanuts from the kitchen and sat in the hall, waiting for the next enemy to arrive. Late at night, the three family heads met once again. The incident with the Mo family reminded them that if they did not catch Li Zongjiu today, they would not have a good time when they returned. At this moment, Mo Xingshan's head was hanging on the city wall. His blood was still dripping. The entire Mo family was finished. The three family heads rode on their horses. Behind them were their guards. Surround this inn. The Hong family head Hong Xixing shouted. You guys go too, Su Bingchun said. Hua Huan also ordered the Hua family guards to rush out and surround the inn. From the window of the inn, they could see a person sitting in the hall, drinking alone. Obviously, he had been waiting for them for a long time. Archers, get ready. Large blade team, get ready to rush in. All three parties were ready. Just as they were about to break in, Hong Xixing raised his hand. Wait! Hong Xixing raised his hand and interrupted the rhythm. This also caused the two people who were in a tense situation to look over. What do you want to do? Su Bingchun frowned and asked. Hong Xixing also raised his eyelids, and looked at the moon in the sky. Then, he looked at the strong men behind him. Then he looked at the two people beside him. This is strange. If it was an ordinary person, why would we need to act? This doesn't make sense. Hong Xixing looked at the two and said slowly, "What do you mean? The arrow is already on the bow. It's useless to say more. If we don't kill our way in, Emo Xingshan's fate is already there." Huo Huan said, "Zhang Yu is at the origin ancestor realm. He can go anywhere in the city and catch anyone. Why do we need to act?" Hong Xixing expressed the doubts in his heart. "You're saying, even he can't figure out the people inside?" Su Bingchun quickly grasped the crux of the matter. If he could do it himself, he wouldn't have to go through so much trouble. Emo Xingshan's death would directly cause a huge loss to the city. As the city lord, it would be hard for him to escape the blame. A brat who is still wet behind the ears dares to jump around above our heads? So what if he is Yuanzong? Since that is the case, why don't we go and investigate this person's background first? It must be said that Hong Xixing's idea was extremely bold. The three of them knew that this matter wasn't so simple. They just had to capture them and hand them over to Zhang Yu. There would be endless troubles in the future, and they might even become Zhang Yu's puppets. They would have to do whatever Zhang Yu asked them to do. This was a scene that none of the family heads wanted to see. Thus, they had to think of a way to get out of this predicament. Hong Xixing had been developing steadily over the years, dealing with various big families. It wasn't easy for him to achieve today's stable situation. How could he let this family be destroyed like this? He had to save it from the beginning. The three of them exchanged glances. Finally, they came to a decision. Knock, knock, knock. A series of knocks sounded. Li Zongjio glanced at the door and said indifferently, "Come in." The door was pushed open, and Hong Xixing and the other two walked in. When they saw that the person sitting at the table was actually a delicate-looking youth, the three of them were shocked. The person that Zhang Yu was afraid of was actually this person in front of them. At first, they thought that it was a problem with the artist's technique, which made him look younger. However, when they saw Li Zongjio, the three of them realized that they were thinking too much. The age of this youth in front of them was basically below Zhang Yu's. This Zhang Yu was actually afraid of a youth who was younger than him. The three of them felt that it was inconceivable. Although they didn't believe it in their hearts, since they had already walked in, they naturally had to find out the situation of the other party. "Little brother, are you Li Zongjio?" Hong Xixing was the first to speak. This negotiation could be said to be a result of Hong Xixing's matchmaking. He also wanted to see how powerful this Li Zongjio was. Even though he knew that this Li Zongjio was definitely extraordinary, he still found it hard to believe at this moment. "That's me." Li Zongjio knocked on the table, indicating that the three of them should sit at the table. "You're also here to kill me, right? Tell me who sent you, and I can spare your lives." After waiting for the three of them to sit down, Li Zongjio drank a cup of wine and said indifferently, "This scene could be said to be extremely strange." When they were sitting in the city lord's mansion's main hall, they also faced the same threat. However, that person was the new city lord and had the backing of Qingyuan Manor. It was because of this strength and oppression, coupled with the fact that he had killed a person in public, that he could threaten them. And now, a young man who was only in his teens was clearly just a brat to them. How dare such a person come and threaten them? It was really hilarious. Could it be that children nowadays like to threaten people so much? However, with the example of Zhang Yu, they had learned their lesson this time. "We are under the city lord's order to invite you to the city lord's mansion to assist in the investigation. I hope that little brother will give us face and not make things difficult for the three of us," Hong Xixing said. If this Li Zongjio had something to talk about and could directly bring them to the city lord's mansion, then as long as they invited Li Zongjio to the city lord's mansion, they would not have to kill him. Wouldn't this be the best of both worlds? In this way, it would be a safe solution. It won't be difficult if you're dead. Looking at the somewhat relaxed three of them, Li Zongjio's words made the three of them extremely stiff. What did these words mean? Could it be that he was going to attack them? Thinking of this, the three of them became gloomy. However, Li Zongjio did not care about the changes in the three of them. He did not even know that the people sitting in front of him were the patriarchs of the three great clans that could hold up half of the sky in this city. Such an identity was not threatening or attractive to Li Zongjio. However, Li Zongjio had already found a new target. There was no way to kill all of these lackeys. Only by killing his way to the city lord's mansion would he be able to solve this problem. First of all, he did not care about why the other party wanted to kill him. However, according to the situation of the two people upstairs, they should be after the meteorite in his hands. In any case, he would kill them first. Bring me to the city lord's mansion. Li Zongjio stood up and turned to walk out of the house. The three people who stayed behind were stunned. This kid was so easy to talk to, but he was actually willing to throw his life away. If this was the case, Zhang Yu would have no reason to make things difficult for them after this matter was settled. Take the things upstairs with you. This is the big gift I prepared. Li Zongjio's voice drifted over. Things? What things? Among the three of them, Hong Xixing was the first to go out and stabilize the troops. Otherwise, it would be too much of a waste if they had to go into a bloody battle after the negotiations had been settled. Meanwhile, Su Bingchun and Huo Huan went upstairs. They immediately saw two headless corpses lying in the middle of the road. When they picked up the heads of the two people, they were all shocked. Master Nianma, Raging Warrior Tai Hu. How did these two people die here? Chapter 254. Su Bingchun and Huo Huan couldn't calm down for a long time when they saw the two corpses. The scene before their eyes was simply too shocking. The combination of the two of them could be considered veteran powerhouses in the city. Even the four great families didn't dare offend the two of them. The two of them had only been living in seclusion and hadn't done anything. Now they had been killed by Li Zongjio. The inn was empty, and Li Zongjio was the only one inside. Who else could have killed them? Eventually, the two of them packed up the corpses. If that was the case, then the two of them might be related to the city lord mansion. However, based on Zhang Yu's behavior, it seemed like he didn't know anything about the two of them. Otherwise, he wouldn't have sent them over. Although the three great families had some means to resist a Sky Origin ancestor powerhouse, they simply weren't a match for Master Nian Mo. If Master Nian Mo wanted to slaughter the three great families, it would be a piece of cake. A level 3 mind master was feared wherever he went. Most importantly, Master Nian Mo's strength was at the peak of level 3 mind masters. But now, even his head had been chopped off. With such a way of dying, he couldn't even leave behind a complete corpse. That young man is really terrifying. Even Master Nian Mo had died at the hands of Li Zongjio. If they had rushed in, their fates wouldn't have been much different from Master Nian Mo's. After the two of them came out, they got their subordinates to carry the corpses while they quickly chased after Hong Xixing. Hong Xixing turned around to look at the two of them. He thought that as long as Li Zongjio reached the city lord's mansion, everything would be over. He should be happy. However, looking at the two of them, he felt disgusted and worried as if they had eaten shit. What's going on? Hong Xixing couldn't help but ask softly. Based on the expressions of the two of them, there was clearly something wrong. Su Bingchun and Huo Huan exchanged a glance. This matter was too shocking. In the end, Su Bingchun was the one who spoke. There are two corpses in the inn. It's Master Nianma and Tai Hu, Su Bingchun said in an extremely low voice. The death of these two people was enough to cause a huge commotion in Jianghu under normal circumstances. There would definitely be a storm in the city. The two of them usually stayed in the city and didn't do anything. Why would he suddenly find Li Zongjio and be killed? What? Master Nian Mo. Tai Hu is dead. Hong Xixing was so surprised that he almost bit his own tongue. Then he looked at Li Zongjio, who was slowly moving forward on his horse. It was impossible not to be shocked. Even if Emo Xingshan had died in front of his eyes, he would not have been so shocked. Emo Xingshan's death would have made him somewhat happy. After all, such a big family had suddenly fallen, so they would definitely have picked up some benefits later on. However, Master Nian Mo was an expert with a glorious battle record in the city. He lived in seclusion in the city, and even the previous city lord didn't dare to provoke him. Now he was dead. Even the corpses were brought along. Such a shocking thing was simply hard to accept. Li Zongjiu is no less terrifying than Zhang Yu. It's no wonder Zhang Yu is so wary of him. The three of them had some understanding of Li Zongjiu's strength. How could these young people grow so quickly? It was simply unbelievable. In the City Lord Mansion, Zhang Yu was arrogant because of his talent. Tonight, his move had intimidated the three great clans. With the help of Qingyuan Villa's strength, he had eradicated the Mo clan. At the same time, he had supported the Qingyuan Villa's power and consolidated his position in the city. So far, he had accomplished his mission very well. However, Zhang Yu had underestimated the courage of the three great families. When the news came back, Zhang Yu was taken aback. He did not expect this at all. He had never imagined that the three great families would actually dare to join forces with Li Zongjiu. Although he didn't know the details of the deal, the fact that the three great families had captured Li Zongjiu and brought him to the City Lord Mansion unscathed was indeed a little unbelievable. Interesting. Seems like these three stinking bug families still want to make a comeback. Since I have my eyes on them, how can I let them make a comeback so easily? He had already made up his mind to eat up the three great families. He wouldn't give up so easily. He wanted to see what kind of tricks these people would dare play in front of him. Get the Bloodstrike guards ready and act on my orders, Zhang Yu said nonchalantly, although he wasn't afraid of these people. As a Sky Origin level powerhouse, he was invincible in a city like this. How could he be frightened by these country bumpkins? However, he still made some preparations to prevent these people from getting in the way. If any accidents happened, he would be able to control them in time. Now he wanted to see where Li Zongjiu had gotten the courage to walk into the City Lord Mansion. Once he walked in, he wouldn't be able to leave. 10 minutes later, Li Zongjiu and the others had already arrived at the entrance of the City Lord Mansion. The doors of the City Lord Mansion were wide open, as if they had already known that they would be there. The three of you come in as well. Li Zongjiu walked in after he finished speaking. Hong Xixing and the others wanted to leave immediately. After all, this was a matter between the two of them. Furthermore, they had already arrived at the location, so there was no need to continue. However, Li Zongjiu's words left them at a loss for what to do. In the end, Hong Xixing and the other two entered with an elder each. At the same time, they ordered everyone to wait outside. Once they saw the signal, regardless of what happened, they were to rush in and rescue them first. Mo Xingshan's mistake was a warning to them. If they didn't bring anyone, they would very likely be killed by Zhang Yu. If anything were to happen, the three great clans would naturally engage in a life-and-death struggle. No matter what, it was impossible for them to become Zhang Yu's lackey. After they were done with their preparations, they followed Li Zongjiu. After entering the City Lord Mansion, Li Zongjiu saw a young man carrying a chair and sitting in the middle of the road. Looking at Li Zongjiu, who had just arrived, there was a beautiful maid beside him who was pouring tea for him. In addition, the guards of the City Lord Mansion were standing on both sides. If it wasn't for Zhang Yu's order, it would have taken some time for them to barge in. You are Li Zongjiu? Zhang Yu asked arrogantly when he saw Li Zongjiu. The clan leaders of the three great clans could only stand a short distance behind Li Zongjiu. Both Zhang Yu and Li Zongjiu were extremely dangerous people. If they casually approached them, it was very likely that they would be injured. Therefore, it was better to keep a distance. You want to kill me? Li Zongjiu looked at Zhang Yu and said indifferently. He didn't answer Zhang Yu's question. After asking the question, he casually tossed the two tokens out. These were the tokens that he found on Tai Hu and the mental demon. Patter. The tokens fell in front of Zhang Yu. Zhang Yu was angry at first, but when he saw the two tokens he calmed down. He didn't get angry and just sat there. What did you do to the two of them? These two tokens came from Qingyuan Villa, so he naturally knew who they were. One of them was the deacon of Qingyuan Villa. Just like the people who were supervising the Northern Medicine House back then, they had quite a high status. With such a status, they would often need to shoulder some extremely important missions and hide in one place. At the same time, there was no need to doubt their strength. Kill them. Li Zongjiu stood with his hands behind his back. I'll give you a chance. Kill yourself. He looked at Zhang Yu and said indifferently. Chapter 255. Li Zongjio could tell from Zhang Yu's expression that Zhang Yu was from the Qingyuan villa. This Zhang Yu was also from the Qingyuan villa. Since that was the case, Li Zongjio didn't care why the other party wanted to kill him. The reason wasn't important. What he cared about was the result. Since Zhang Yu had committed suicide, there was no need for him to do anything. Hong Xixing was extremely shocked when he heard Li Zongjio's words. Li Zongjio didn't know, but they did. Zhang Yu had a Sky Origin ancestor cultivation base. At his age, he was considered a first-rate genius. How could he commit suicide just because of a single sentence? Everyone knew that this was impossible. Where did Li Zongjio get his confidence from? Why did he ask Zhang Yu to commit suicide? In fact, those words that were filled with confidence and ignorance caused Zhang Yu to be startled. Then he burst into loud laughter. Haha. I was wondering what kind of ruthless person killed Ao Yong. It turns out that he's just a fool. Zhang Yu laughed heartily as he looked at Li Zongjio. Killed Ao Yong? Was this Li Zongjio the one who had killed the previous city lord, Ao Yong? Ao Yong's death could be considered inexplicable. Later on, the Thousand Flavor Herb Hall had been implicated. Fortunately, the Thousand Flavor Herb Hall had a strong background, so this matter didn't have much of an impact. However, it was indeed impressive to display such ability. If he could kill Master Nianma, then killing Ao Yong shouldn't be too difficult. The three of you listen carefully. Are you going to join forces with me and take down this person? Or are you going to join forces with him and take all of you down together? Zhang Yu said nonchalantly. He pointed at the three family heads as he spoke. Even though they were the clan leaders of the three great clans, they were still confused by the situation in front of them. What exactly was going on? From the looks of it, this Li Zongjio seemed to have done many things that were not known to outsiders. Moreover, such a person had appeared in their city, yet the three great clans were completely unaware of this matter. However, Li Zongjio didn't make things difficult for them for long. After confirming that the person in front of them was indeed that impudent kid, Li Zongjio's figure had already moved. Li Zongjio still had to head to the Black North Mega City to register after dealing with the kid. The reason why Li Zongjio wanted to deal with this trouble now was because he was worried that these people would touch Wuxia City. Therefore, he wanted to deal with these people first. Boom! In the center of his palm, a flame emerged, and the surrounding temperature immediately rose to a terrifying level. This first-rate power came from the depths of his soul, and he could feel the fear. Hee, you're really courting death. Since that's the case, I'll let you know what the actual disparity is. Trash like you can only be a bug under my feet forever. If I want to step on you, I'll step on you. A terrifying aura immediately erupted from Zhang Yu's body. At the same time, behind Zhang Yu, a silverback gorilla suddenly stood up. Its height alone was close to 10 meters, although it was only a shadow formed by the condensation of yuan power. However, in everyone's eyes, this silverback gorilla seemed to be standing in front of them, looking down at Li Zongjio from above. Prayer beads go. Without any hesitation, Li Zongjio ejected the beads with the power of imprisonment in his hand. Swoosh! This whistling sound directly released the power of the imprisonment. A huge light screen instantly enveloped Zhang Yu. This is the imprisonment prayer beads. Zhang Yu was stunned when he saw the light screen appear. However, Li Zongjio's move was too sudden, and Zhang Yu's figure was stunned on the spot. This terrifying imprisonment force also stabilized his body. At the same time, the flame in Li Zongjio's palm turned into an evil spirit and blasted toward Zhang Yu. Boom! The obsidian flame accurately hit Zhang Yu's head. However, Zhang Yu's head did not directly explode. Instead, a green light bloomed from Zhang Yu's body. As the green light appeared, it forcibly suppressed the obsidian flame. Damn it! After seeing the green light, Zhang Yu's eyes immediately widened. He even wanted to curse out loud. He hated Li Zongjio to the core. You actually triggered one of my king-level protective talismans. Li Zongjio looked at the green light emerging. This was a method that experts often used. Infusing one's yuan qi into a jade talisman and wearing it on one's body. As long as a sudden surge of energy met the triggering conditions of the jade talisman, it would automatically activate and achieve the effect of protecting the owner. Obviously, in Zhang Yu's family, there was also a king-level expert who took a fancy to him and even refined a protective talisman for him. Under the flickering green light, Li Zhongjiu also saw the big word win. This word was marked with a special symbol. If you were an expert of the same level, you should recognize each other and know whose symbol it was. Therefore, it served as a deterrent and warning. For example, if Li Zhongjiu gave someone a protective talisman, he would also leave his own symbol on the defensive shield. This way, if something happened and he offended an expert, he would weigh the pros and cons after seeing the symbol on the defensive shield. After all, this was a very serious matter. After seeing the symbol and knowing that this person was under his protection, he would start to weigh the pros and cons. After all, this was a very serious matter. After seeing the symbol and knowing that this person was under his protection, he would be going against him. This was where the threat of such a title came from. However, this was just a mere Yuan king. To Li Zhongjiu, this was nothing. He was completely uninterested and did not care who this symbol belonged to. Zhang Yu broke out in a cold sweat. If he did not have this protective talisman, he would have been ambushed by Li Zhongjiu and even lost his life. Fortunately, he had this protective talisman with him. Otherwise, Zhang Yu would be lying in a coffin. However, Li Zhongjiu had ambushed him and wasted his protective talisman. This was unforgivable to Zhang Yu. The value of this protective talisman was unimaginable. He had begged for it for a long time and paid a huge price. Now, because of Li Zhongjiu's despicable sneak attack, it had been wasted. Li Zhongjiu was no match for him in a head-on fight. Die! Sky rumbling hammer technique. Zhang Yu pulled out a black iron hammer from his waist and smashed it towards Li Zhongjiu's head from less than 10 meters away. At the same time, the silverback gorilla behind Zhang Yu roared at the sky and punched Li Zhongjiu's head. This was a move that contained the power of an Yuan spirit. Unless one was a Sky Origin Ancestor Realm powerhouse and possessed the power of the Yuan dragon to defend against the attack, one would be doomed if they were hit. Of course, there was another way. Hidden dragon technique. Li Zhongjiu's figure disappeared from his original spot. He did not panic in the slightest in the face of this move. Boom! With a loud sound, the ground shook. A huge pit appeared on the ground. At the same time, there was a trace of charred black. That is, I heard that the attribute of Zhang Yu's Yuan force seems to be Thunder attribute. Thunder attribute? Isn't that a mutated attribute? Zhang Yu's strength is really terrifying. Zhang Yu is an outstanding graduate of the 16th batch of Chaowu Pavilion. It's already very good for him to be able to graduate from Chaowu Pavilion, to be able to obtain the title of an outstanding graduate. It's not surprising that Zhang Yu is a Yuan Zong. The three family heads could not help but take 2 steps back to make way for the battlefield. They were also worried that they would accidentally injure others. The guards of the City Lord Mansion also retreated to one side. In a battle of this level, even the slightest ripple would probably cause one's entire body to turn into ashes. Therefore, it was necessary to keep a distance. However, why does it seem like Zhang Yu is being suppressed by Li Zhongjiu? Su Bingshun was surprised. It was obviously a rare opportunity to be able to watch a Yuan Zong elite make a move. Naturally, he would not miss out on any details. However, they saw that Li Zhongjiu did not make many moves. In fact, most of the time he was dodging. However, once he made a move, he would definitely force Zhang Yu to retreat. Swoosh! Li Zhongjiu's figure flashed and directly rushed in front of Zhang Yu. His fist suddenly smashed out. Boom! There was a flame on his fist. Seeing this, Zhang Yu used his mysterious iron hammer to block it. Clang! After the collision, there was a loud sound. Zhang Yu was sent flying, and the silverback gorilla behind him also fell to the ground. My mysterious lightning hammer! Zhang Yu looked at his empty hands, and then looked at Li Zhongjiu's fist. A wave of energy rolled out and tied the mysterious lightning hammer to his fist like a strong straw rope. Therefore, Zhang Yu flew out, and the hammer fell into Li Zhongjiu's hand. You can't even hold a weapon properly, and you want to be a city lord. Chapter 256. Li Zhongjie's mocking voice pierced Zhang Yu's ears like a sharp knife. What did you say? Zhang Yu was instantly enraged like a thundercloud. He flew into a rage. The elemental energy around his body also began to crackle and explode. You asked for it, Li Zhongjie. The silverback gorilla seemed to have condensed a lightning chain from its palms, binding its body and releasing the power of lightning. Boom! Zhang Yu's aura suddenly surged. Just as Zhang Yu's aura was about to reach its peak, suddenly, he saw a black spear flying towards him. Whoosh! Boom! Ghost spear! Moreover, it was released by Li Zhongjie. If he didn't use this thing, when would he use it? Wouldn't it be a waste? The timing of the ghost spear's appearance was also very accurate. It almost instantly landed on Zhang Yu's body. Puff! The silverback gorilla immediately fell to the ground. Zhang Yu's body was also sent flying, smashing into a wall. The spear accurately pierced Zhang Yu's heart. Zhang Yu's collapsed body was still twitching nonstop. He didn't expect that. He would actually be defeated by Li Zhongjie. However, Zhang Yu didn't die immediately. This was because although the spear had seriously injured him, he still had the heart armor on his body. This heart armor was also a very rare elemental item. At this moment, it was continuously transferring elemental energy into Li Zhongjie's body, maintaining the strength of his heart. Heart protection pill. Zhang Yu held the spear with one hand and took out a porcelain bottle with the other. He poured out an elixir on the ground. This elixir could save Zhang Yu's life if he consumed it. This kind of life-saving pill was usually kept on the body to save one's life. However, before Zhang Yu could consume the elixir, he saw Li Zhongjie's foot land and crushed the heart protection pill. This was a 4th-grade elixir after all. It was too wasteful to just crush it like that. Looking at Li Zhongjie's actions, Su Bingchun and the others were extremely anxious. That was a grade 4 Dan. If you don't want it, at least give it to us. Let's go down first. Li Zhongjie was about to smash Zhang Yu's head with his hammer. Suddenly, many figures peeled off from the surrounding walls and charged towards Li Zhongjie. These people were all wearing the dark red short-sleeved clothes made of blood. It was as if divine soldiers had descended from the heavens. The densely packed figures instantly covered the sky above the small courtyard. Everyone be careful, Hong Xixing couldn't help but say. He took another step back and looked at the situation in front of him. These people had a terrifying bloody aura around them. Crash! At least 60 Bloodstrike guards rushed out and surrounded Li Zhongjie. They held their bloodthirsty blades in front of their eyes as they stared at Li Zhongjie. Li Zhongjie's sudden attack had changed too quickly. They hadn't even reacted. By the time they did, Zhang Yu had already fallen to the ground. Let Zhang Yu go and I will let you go. A figure wearing a scarlet mask walked out. Based on the voice, it seemed like it belonged to a woman who wasn't very old. However, there were 3 bronze rings on the hilt of the bloodthirsty sword in her hand. This person had killed countless people and was already a Bloodstrike guard with 3 bronze rings. If a Bloodstrike guard wanted to be promoted, it was measured by the number of people killed. In order to become a Bloodstrike guard with 3 bronze rings, one had to kill at least 3,000 people. Li Zhongjie stepped on Zhang Yu's body. His other hand was holding onto the long spear that was stuck in Zhang Yu's body. Zhang Yu's aura was weak, so the energy of the heart-protecting armor wouldn't last long. It would be exhausted very quickly. He still had a heart-protecting pill in his storage ring. As long as there was a chance, he would be able to survive. Li Zhongjie, if you kill me, you won't be able to escape. The entire Dingquan province will hunt you down, Zhang Yu said in a low voice. He wanted Li Zhongjie to understand the serious consequences of killing him. The Bloodstrike guard with 3 bronze rings released a powerful aura that landed on Li Zhongjie's body. They couldn't wait for Li Zhongjie to release Zhang Yu himself. They had to take the initiative to rescue Zhang Yu. This was the only way they could seize the initiative. However, Li Zhongjie responded very quickly. When he heard Zhang Yu's words, he looked at the surrounding Bloodstrike guards. He held onto the long spear in his hand. He could feel that the heart-protecting armor in Zhang Yu's body was constantly releasing energy to maintain his condition and ensure that he wouldn't die just like that. However, if the external threat was just a little stronger, the situation wouldn't be so good. Don't you dare! The blood strike guard with 3 bronze rings immediately shouted when he saw the change in Li Zongjiu's eyes. A moment later, Zhang Yu felt the pressure on his chest increase. It was as if a sharp knife had broken through the water's surface and pierced him. No! Zhang Yu cried out in alarm, as his heart-protecting armor shattered. The sharp spear instantly pierced through Zhang Yu's heart. Zhang Yu's eyes were filled with rage. At this moment, his eyes were bloodshot. There was only one figure left in his eyes, and that was Li Zongjiu. He was an outstanding graduate of the Imperial Martial Pavilion. He had a bright future ahead of him. Countless glorious moments were waiting for him. In the future, he would achieve great things and step on thousands of heroes. This was his destiny. How could he die here just like that? This was impossible. However, the continuous flow of blood and the gradual disappearance of his consciousness made Zhang Yu realize that everything was over. It was all because of the brat in front of him. This brat used to be a bug in his eyes. He had been trampled to death by a bug. Kill him! The blood strike guard with 3 bronze rings immediately ordered. The moment Li Zongjiu made his move, he knew that Zhang Yu was beyond saving. He hadn't expected this person to be so decisive. He was definitely a formidable opponent. Since Li Zongjiu had killed Zhang Yu, he naturally couldn't let Li Zongjiu leave just like that. Dozens of blood strike guards immediately rushed forward. The blood blades in their hands were emitting a terrifying aura as they attacked. You're bullying me with numbers. Li Zongjiu glanced at the surrounding people as a steel blade appeared in his hand. Anyone who approached Li Zongjiu had their throats slit. Bang! Bang! These people were trained assassins, so they were decisive and ruthless. However, in front of Li Zongjiu, their experience and skills paled in comparison. The blood strike guard with 3 bronze rings immediately roared when he saw Li Zongjiu killing in all directions. Get into formation. Release the fishing net. The group of people surrounding Li Zongjiu wanted to retreat, but Li Zongjiu seized the opportunity and rushed forward, sending several people flying. At the same time, he threw out a ball of black flame. The flame seemed to have turned into a flying knife. Whoosh! Boom! Boom! They didn't even have the chance to get into formation before they were all knocked down by Li Zongjiu. After destroying the opponent's formation, the blood strike guard with 3 bronze rings immediately understood that Li Zongjiu's strength couldn't be judged by common sense. His experience made him seem like an old fox with decades of experience in escaping. His judgment of the situation on the battlefield was extremely sharp. At the same time, the blood strike guard with 3 bronze rings saw Li Zongjiu looking over. Not good. Sure enough, a black shadow flew out from Li Zongjiu's hand. Many blood strike guards tried to block it, but they were all sent flying by the black shadow. Bang! Bang! The blood strike in his hand slashed out diagonally, blocking the flying object. Clang! The blood strike guard with 3 bronze rings was forced back several steps. Mysterious lightning hammer! The mysterious lightning hammer flew back. Li Zongjiu leaped up and grabbed the mysterious lightning hammer. When he landed again, a blood strike guard had no time to escape. His brain matter splattered everywhere as Li Zongjiu smashed it. Bang! Even Li Zongjiu's body was unavoidably stained with scarlet blood. Cough cough, this person's strength is tyrannical. Retreat! Seeing this, the blood strike guard with 3 bronze rings no longer persisted. Originally, she had brought 60 people, but in the blink of an eye, she had already lost half of her subordinates. Those who weren't injured would either live or die. The blood strike guard with 3 bronze rings waved his blood-red robe and flew away with the remaining people. Li Zongjiu didn't chase after them. These were just guards who were doing their job. If he really wanted to kill them, he could just grab the most important person in the organization and kill him. Then the organization would most likely collapse. Therefore, Li Zongjiu didn't waste any energy. There was a strong smell of blood on his body. Although the city lord was dead, the guards of the city lord's mansion were still there. Moreover, they were the same group as before. They probably didn't expect this. Under their dutiful protection, 2 city lords died one after another. The remaining 3 patriarchs were dumbstruck as they watched the scene unfold before their eyes. Could Li Zongjiu be the reincarnation of the war god? Chapter 257. They saw Li Zongjio standing alone in the middle of the pile of corpses. There were more than 40 corpses on the ground. Bloodstrike guards and Zhang Yu's corpse. Very few Bloodstrike guards had been able to escape. Therefore, Li Zongjio didn't waste any effort to track them down. The strength of these people alone wasn't enough to make Li Zongjio feel threatened. This situation. How should we deal with it? Hong Xixing and the others exchanged glances. In comparison, the situations that they usually dealt with weren't even worth mentioning. It would be difficult for the three great families to escape this calamity. Who would have thought that Li Zongjio, who they had brought back, would directly kill the current city lord Zhang Yu? None of them had expected such an outcome. They had originally thought that the two of them would be in a stalemate, and that whatever happened after that would have nothing to do with the three great families. However, they had been dragged in for no reason. If they left now, this matter wouldn't be over. A cough. Do you want to drink some water? Hong Xixing asked as he stepped forward under the gazes of the other two. Their three great families could be considered pitiful. However, the most pitiful one was still the one hanging on the city wall. He was the one who was truly pitiful. He had been killed for no reason. Li Zongjio glanced at the bloodstains on his body. He didn't care about the corpses around him. Instead, he pointed at the group of guards and asked indifferently, "Who is your leader?" "Me. I am." A man in black armor stepped forward. To be able to become the commander of the City Lord Mansion's guards, he had to have some ability. However, his ability wasn't worth mentioning in front of Li Zongjio. He didn't even need to display his ability. If he really did, someone would die. "The three of you, did you see with your own eyes these people in red charge in and kill this kid?" Li Zongjio asked indifferently. He had to make arrangements for this matter. Otherwise, killing a city lord in public was definitely not a small matter for the dynasty. He had to make proper arrangements, and then exert some pressure to suppress this matter. Otherwise, if this trouble spread to Wuxia City, it would be a huge crisis. It seemed that if he wanted to put a protective umbrella over Wuxia City, he would have to make a trip to Thousand Horse City. This Thousand Horse City was a relatively special place. It was also located in the Dingquan province. However, there were no other forces in Thousand Horse City. Everyone was unable to cultivate their own forces. Only the general's mansion in Thousand Horse City had power. In Thousand Horse City, there was a general of Thousand Horse City's territory. This Thousand Horse City was also within the scope of his fief. The dynasty had also trapped this old general here. Otherwise, with his merits and reputation, he could have set off a storm at any time and place. To Thousand Horse City's Thousand Horse City. However, Thousand Horse City was a place that no other force dared to touch or offend. When Hong Xixing and the others heard Li Zongjio's words, they immediately understood Li Zongjio's plan. This was a good idea. Their eyes lit up when they thought about it. Although it was a little far-fetched, everyone could see that the Bloodstrike Guard was in cahoots with Zhang Yu. However, this was the best explanation. The guard commander also understood and nodded blankly. Also, those two people are the masterminds. As for you, you are the #1 contributor in taking them down. The three of you also contributed quite a bit. Li Zongjio said faintly. With just a few words, he had already arranged a good show. Zhang Yu had died at the hands of Master Nian Mo's Yuan Qi, so this was also very easy to explain. Of course, doing this wouldn't be of any use. However, Li Zongjio just needed to buy some time. Once the time was up, even if Li Zongjio knew what Li Zongjio had done, what could he do? If he could get the Bloodstrike Guard to protect him, Zhang Yu's status in the Qingyuan mountain villa couldn't be too low. Although Hong Xixing and the others were helpless, this seemed to be the best solution. They had to cover up this matter. Even the three great clans needed to do their homework. You should have memorized the characteristics of the people who escaped. Send out a kill order together. Li Zongjio said. Su Bingchuan's eyes lit up. So this was the reason why Li Zongjio had allowed those people to escape. This was Li Zongjio's backup plan. After those people escaped, he would shift the blame onto them. This way, even if they returned to the base, they wouldn't have a good ending. There was no need to chase them down. Their fates had already been decided. This method was indeed brilliant. Li Zhongjiu didn't care about what happened next. If the four of them didn't succeed, Li Zhongjiu had plenty of ways to make them pay the price. After a little consideration, they realized how terrifying Li Zhongjiu's strength was. He wasn't the kind that could be easily fooled. They had to serve him well. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Hong Xixing and the others heaved a sigh of relief when they thought about it. Fortunately, they hadn't given the order to attack the inn. Otherwise, the people lying on the ground wouldn't have been the Bloodstrike Guard, but the few of them. It was hard to imagine what kind of fate would have befallen the family. The consequences would have been extremely severe. He had changed their fates with a single thought. Anyone would be so shocked that they would break out in cold sweat. Before they left, Hong Xixing gave Li Zhongjiu an identity token of the Hong family. Li Zhongjiu hadn't wanted it at first, but Hong Xixing had said that with the token, he could stay in the city's restaurants and inns for free, and get a 20% discount on food and drinks. Li Zhongjiu didn't stand on ceremony. Although Li Zhongjiu didn't feel any pressure or discomfort when he went back to live with a house full of dead people. Why wouldn't he choose a safe and clean environment? After killing Zhang Yu, Li Zhongjiu swaggered out of the city lord's mansion. He used the token in his hand to check into the best room in a restaurant 2 streets away. The front desk manager even asked Li Zhongjiu if he needed a massage. Li Zhongjiu immediately refused. It was obvious that these people had made ample preparations. There was a knife above the character of lust. Although Li Zhongjiu wasn't a sage, in terms of the cultivation of his body, he could only improve his cultivation by protecting his body's current state. Otherwise, once his cultivation was broken, it would be very difficult for him to regain his current state. There were still benefits in maintaining his current state. He cleaned himself up and washed away the smell of blood on his body. Ever since he stepped into the Supreme Being realm in his previous life, he basically didn't see blood. If there was an enemy, he would just beat them into a pile of dregs. Li Zhongjiu had also experienced a scene with a strong smell of blood. There was even a period of time when he was trying to avoid being hunted. He hollowed out the stomach of a carrion worm and hid inside for nearly 7 days. This kind of situation wasn't something that anyone could endure. In order to become an expert, one must first have an unshakable will. Qingyuan Manor has already started to deal with me? In that case, I can't let you develop so steadily. Whether it was Zhang Yu or Master Nianma, they were both sending a signal to Li Zhongjiu that these people were already eyeing him. Some of the previous small fights and some small accidents might not be considered a big deal. However, Li Zhongjiu had already entered their sights and even posed a slight threat to them. Therefore, Zhang Yu could be considered his first blade. It was a pity that this blade wasn't considered sharp. Li Zhongjiu quickly put the matter of Zhang Yu and the others to the back of his mind and focused on honing his mind power. The bloody storm that night blew quickly and fiercely, but it also left quickly. Many people were still asleep, so they didn't know that in these few short hours, things had already changed. The situation in northern Medicine City could be said to have changed several times. Chapter 258. Inside the Thousand Taste Herb Hall. When Gong Xing received this piece of information, his eyes and mouth widened. Most of the time, his mind was blank. Only endless shock was left in his heart. He kept shaking himself. If the chief knows about this, he probably won't have the heart to open a branch. This Li Zhongjiu, where did he come from? Gong Xing let out a long sigh in his heart. Lu Manxian had already gone to Wuxia City and seemed to be trying her best to build a relationship and platform with the Li family. With the reputation and strength of the Thousand Taste Herb Hall, this wasn't a problem. However, such a serious matter was hard to estimate and believe. Elder Gong, what's the matter? Looking at Gong Xing's worried face, a voice sounded in front of him. Miss, you're here. Do you still remember Li Zhongjiu from last time? Gong Xing saw the person who came and stood up. It seemed that the identity of the girl wasn't simple. If Li Zhongjiu was here, he might be able to recognize her. The girl in front of him was the apprentice pharmacist who received him the last time he came here. However, the identity card on the girl's chest had been updated. Beginner pharmacist. She was no longer an apprentice pharmacist, but a true beginner pharmacist. Although she had just started, she was obviously very happy and proud to be able to obtain this honor. Li Zongjio, remember? Didn't he kill Ao Yong? Fortunately, Ao Yong didn't have any background. Otherwise, this troublemaker wouldn't have been able to escape. The girl wrinkled her nose slightly and said, "Fortunately, Li Zongjio escaped quickly. Otherwise, Li Zongjio would have been caught by the law enforcement team. After all, this was a city. If the city lord died, and the people below did nothing, the consequences would be embarrassing. Where would the dignity of the dynasty be? Who would dare to take up the position of city lord in the future? If even one's life wasn't guaranteed, wouldn't it be quite dangerous? What trouble did he get into this time?" the young girl asked. The newly appointed city lord, Zhang Yu, died tonight. Someone saw Li Zongjio enter the city lord mansion with the patriarchs of the three major families. Gong Xing said in a deep voice. The appearance of such a situation also made people scratch their heads in confusion. The power of the three great families in the city was not to be ignored by the Thousand-Taste Herb Hall. But with the appearance of this unknown brat, he directly mobilized the power of the three great clans to force the palace? There must be some inside story. As for the specifics, they would naturally have to investigate further before they could find out. Although the Thousand-Taste Cottage was not small, it was not a professional intelligence agency. If it was the Rain Tower, it would be operating all day long. The situation here must have already spread to the Rain Pavilion. It was also recorded down. This guy. Take control of the three great clans? That bastard Zhang Yu is dead? It's good that you're dead, haha. The young girl did not care about Zhang Yu's death. Instead, she cared about Li Zongjio. She was very interested in this Li Zongjio. Elder, can you temporarily suppress this matter? Don't spread it out so quickly. The young girl looked at Elder Gongxing and said. Elder Gongxing was also stunned. What did she mean? Could it be that the young miss wanted to help this troublemaker? This idea could be said to be very dangerous. But looking at the young girl's eyes, Elder Gongxing found it hard to refuse. Young miss, this. If the old master knows about this, he will be furious. Gongxing said. Helplessly, he could only bring up the old master. Otherwise, there was really no way to refuse this matter. Don't worry, there won't be any problems on my father's side. Elder Gong might even make a contribution. The young girl blinked and said. Obviously, the young girl's identity was not simple. She came to Northern Medicine City for an internship, and at the same time, came to visit Lu Manxian. After all, she had a good relationship with Lu Manxian, so she came here quietly. Not many people in the entire Thousand-Taste Cottage knew about this young girl's identity. The young girl insisted. Although Gongxing was unwilling, he had to do it. After all, this young girl was considered half the owner of Thousand-Taste Cottage. He had to listen to her words. With the reputation of the Thousand Flavors Herb Hall, and Gongxing's own strength and status, it was not difficult for him to make a few greetings and cover up a little in the city's judicial organs and the like. This matter was secretly suppressed by a mysterious person. Moreover, the three great clans and the city lord's mansion's guard commander cooperated with each other. This matter was weakened. On the other hand, it was weakened quite well. After all, the dead were already dead. Only those who survived would be able to grasp the situation. Li Zongjio did not know about this situation, nor did he know that Thousand-Taste Cottage had a hand in it. Anyway, he let the three great clans do this just to delay some time. The next day, the martial law in the city was naturally lifted. Li Zongjio came to the relay station, took back his horse, and headed in the direction of Thousand Horse City. Thousand Horse City was located in a relatively hidden location. If one had not been there, it was very likely that one would get lost or even die on the road. On the ancient yellow sand road, one could see a series of clearly visible horseshoe camps extending into the distance. However, when the wind blew, the sand would cover the footprints. If one did not bring any equipment to distinguish the direction, they would not be able to get out of here, and would get lost in this small desert. In fact, this was just a dry riverbed. As the trees and water flowed, the soil gradually turned into flying sand, forming such a spacious area. The temperature here was quite terrifying. It was enough to let people feel the horror of living here. After passing through this yellow sand land, Li Zongjio came in front of a dense forest. Just as he was about to enter the dense forest, he stopped. He turned around and glanced at the sandstorm that was blowing behind him. It's the same as before. There's no change, Li Zongjio said faintly, thinking in his heart. However, when Li Zongjio stepped into the dense forest, suddenly, a few whistling sounds could be heard coming from the dense forest. Xiao xiao. 2 sharp arrows accurately fell half a meter in front of Li Zongjio. Stop, who are you? A group of people wearing cloth clothes and headscarves emerged from the forest and immediately surrounded Li Zongjio. Based on the way these people dressed, those who did not know would think that they were local villagers or hunters. However, these people's uniform movements and resolute eyes made it clear that these people were actually soldiers. Then, a short man wearing a black checkered gown and carrying a long stick on his shoulder walked out from the depths of the forest. Boy, are you lost or kidnapped? Go back to where you came from. This is not a place for you. Otherwise, I'll destroy your bird and kill you. The short man glared at Li Zongjio and said fiercely. At the same time, he also looked between Li Zongjio's legs. The threat was not concealed at all. I'm here to look for your city lord, Li Zongjio said. In his previous life, Li Zongjio had also wandered to this place. If one were to calculate the time, it was probably around this time when he accidentally broke into the boundary of Thousand Horse City. At that time, he knew that there was a city hidden in this inconspicuous place. Moreover, at that time, he thought that he had entered a den of thieves. After all, there were private armed forces in this place. Moreover, it was full of vigilance against the outside world. Ordinary people could not get close to this place, looking for the city lord. When they heard Li Zongjio's words, the short man and the other's eyes suddenly sharpened. They stared at Li Zongjio with murderous eyes, wanting to see something from Li Zongjio's body. Take him down, the short man said without hesitation. Suddenly, the people around him rushed towards Li Zongjio. Chapter 259. The person who rushed up was holding a hemp rope in his hand. He wanted to trap Li Zongjio, not kill Li Zongjio. They also had discipline and would not kill people at will. However, they would not let anyone go. However, this time, there was a big difference between his previous life and his previous life. In his previous life, he had to run all the way here, but this time it was different. The corner of Li Zongjio's mouth hooked up into an evil smile. Half a minute later, the 10 or so people around him, including the short man, were all on the ground. Li Zongjio shook the long staff in his hand. This black iron staff was the short man's family heirloom. It was a dormant yuan tool. If the short man had a way to cultivate to a certain level, he would be able to awaken the long staff in his hand. You, who are you? What do you want to do? The short man suddenly roared. From Li Zongjio's attack just now, he already knew that this Li Zongjio was not a person of this level at all. Could it be that the dynasty has begun to make a move? They actually sent such a young expert to massacre the city. If that was the case, then no matter what, he had to drag this Li Zongjio to death. Everyone would die together. Don't be nervous, kid. I'm here to find your city lord. I have a way to save your city lord. Li Zongjio squatted in front of the short man and said. Hearing Li Zongjio's words, the short man was shocked. Who is this kid? It seems that he came prepared. Otherwise, how could he know about the city lord? Now the city lord of Thousand Horse City was already old. The injuries that he had suffered when he was young had finally erupted today. Moreover, a few days ago, the city lord suffered a sneak attack from the enemy and almost died. Of course, the assassin was not caught. Therefore, these days, Thousand Horse City was in a state of panic. Even the people who came and went were interrogated. Those who could refuse directly refused. In any case, there were not many visitors in Thousand Horse City. Moreover, there were not many good people who came to Thousand Horse City. Who are you? Cut the crap. Take me to see your city lord, Li Zongjio said, and threw the staff in his hand to the short man. At the same time, he released his mental strength. Otherwise, these people would be lying on the ground for a whole day. This kid is quite capable. You dare to return the staff to me. Aren't you afraid that I'll beat you to death? The short man wanted to sneak attack Li Zongjiu again. But when they thought about how they were ambushed by Li Zongjiu, they didn't know how they were defeated. Li Zongjiu's spiritual force seemed to be very powerful. It was precisely because of this that they were defeated so quickly. Okay, I'll take you. After thinking about it, he put down the staff in his hand. In a while he would bring Li Zongjiu to Thousand Horse City. At that time, he would teach this guy a lesson. He was going to teach this guy a lesson. At the same time, the short man also signaled the people behind him. He kept a close eye on the situation around him, to prevent someone from sneaking in at this time. If there was any danger, they would directly release the signal. The short man also led Li Zongjiu into the dense forest. There were many traps along the way in the forest. They probably already knew how powerful Li Zongjiu was. Even if they did not do anything, there were many sentries along the way. There were a lot of people on guard duty. Obviously, Thousand Horse City had been heavily guarded recently. After walking for about 15 minutes, finally they walked out of the forest. Thousand Horse City was right in front of them. The city gate was just a very short mud wall. However, the sentry towers on both sides were very tall. The range of vision was also very wide. There were a total of 3 people on the sentry tower. 2 sentries, one in front and one behind. The other person was hiding in a defense mechanism. This way, when the 2 sentinels died, the 3rd sentinel would have a chance to spread the news. They wouldn't all be killed in an instant. It was almost impossible to sneak into the city without anyone noticing. Of course, if it was a top assassin, then it would be an exception. Such an expert could enter any place. In fact, at this moment, Thousand Horse City had invited several famous teachers from all over the country. There were also some powerful alchemists who came to treat the old man's illness. Hey Chai, why are you back? Who is this person? When they arrived at the city gate, there was still a defense mechanism set up. On the city wall, a woman in military attire asked with a frown. This man's name was Hey Chai. It could also be said that it was the military code name. Don't say any more. Quickly open the city gate. I want to go in with this little brother. Open it right away. Hey Chai raised his head and said. The woman on the city wall frowned when she heard that. However, looking at Hey Chai's situation, she understood and immediately waved her hand. Open the city gate. Suddenly, the 2 doors were pushed open with twigs and twigs. Captain Shanfeng? The woman nodded. Her subordinates immediately came to the city gate. Li Zongjiu and He Chai walked in. However, as soon as he walked in, he saw the city gate being closed with a bang. He Chai took advantage of Li Zongjiu's inattention and rolled forward. Boom! A gate fell between Li Zongjiu and He Chai. Seeing the gate fall, He Chai laughed. He Chai laughed heartily. You didn't expect this, right? Kid, how can I? He Chai's ability be guessed by someone like you? Today you have fallen into my hands. I want to see what else you can do. He Chai looked like a villain, who was intoxicated with success. Shanfeng led her troops forward. She looked at He Chai, who was laughing at Li Zongjiu, with a puzzled expression. However, when she looked at Li Zongjiu, her gaze turned cold. After all, this Li Zongjiu was a threat. This dark steel Vajra gate weighs 30,000 pounds. If you want to come out, answer my question honestly. Otherwise, I will turn you into a hornet's nest. Shanfeng was not polite. The soldiers behind her also lined up in a row. The bows in their hands were uniformly aimed at Li Zongjiu. They only needed to give an order. They could kill Li Zongjiu. 30,000 pounds? Li Zongjiu listened with interest. Then he grabbed the horizontal bar with one hand. He circulated his yuan power. The golden dragon yuan power in his body suddenly surged out and landed on his arm. The dark steel Vajra gate immediately shook slightly. Only when the dark steel Vajra gate was pushed to the top would a lock appear and fix the Vajra gate. Boom! Li Zongjiu lifted the dark steel Vajra gate with one hand and pushed it upwards. The dark steel Vajra gate directly rushed to the top and was pushed back. What? Shanfeng and the others immediately looked at Li Zongjiu in shock. With the weight of 30,000 pounds, and to push the dark steel Vajra gate back, his strength must be at least twice that of 30,000 pounds. If they were not wrong, Li Zongjio had done it with one hand. This person's combined strength is at least 50,000 pounds. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. This Li Zongjio looked so young. Moreover, he had the strength of 100,000 jin. He must be an expert. It could be said that he was terrifying. If such a person was allowed to enter the city, he would be a great threat. Therefore, Shan Feng and He Chai immediately made up their minds to trap Li Zongjio here. Ask your commander to come out. I am not here to cause trouble. After pushing the Vajra gate away, Li Zongjio stood with his hands behind his back, ignoring the tense atmosphere in front of him. The other party had taken out their weapons, but Li Zongjio did not seem to have any intention of taking action. This made Shan Feng and the others hesitate and leave. Could it be that Li Zongjio was not here to cause trouble? What happened? At this moment, a cold and majestic female voice rang out. Shan Feng and He Chai immediately stood up and bowed to the person who had come. Greetings, Deputy Commander. A person in green armor walked out from the crowd. She had a voluptuous figure and slender legs, like a perfect wind fairy. Feng Qingyu, the Deputy General of Thousand Horse City. Chapter 260. Feng Qingyu walked out. She wasn't in charge of guarding the city gate. She just happened to need to go out of the city to hunt some meta beasts. Since there was a commotion in front of her, she naturally came to take a look. She actually encountered an unknown intruder who wanted to look for the commander of Thousand Horse City. He was too arrogant. Feng Qingyu looked at the young man in front of her. Despite being surrounded by so many soldiers of Thousand Horse City, the young man didn't seem to be flustered at all. He was either prepared to die here, or he wasn't afraid of them at all. Looking at Li Zongjio's appearance, he probably knew that Li Zongjio didn't intend to die here, and he really didn't care. He actually dared to look down on Thousand Horse City. Feng Qingyu snorted in her heart. No matter what, she had to teach Li Zongjio a lesson. She pulled out the sword in her hand. The long sword that was emitting green flowing light was only a finger wide. Such a thin and soft long sword was more like a weapon that could easily take a person's head on the battlefield. You want to see our commander? Feng Qingyu said to Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio also looked at the familiar person in front of him. Feng Qingyu. Although this woman looked cold on the surface, she was very gentle and attentive. In his previous life, Li Zongjio had fled to this place, and he was indebted to Feng Qingyu for taking care of him many times. However, Thousand Horse City was attacked by meta beasts later on. In the chaotic battle, Feng Qingyu died in battle to protect Thousand Horse City. The tragic scene was still vivid in his mind. In his previous life, Li Zongjio came to Thousand Horse City in a hurry. What happened after that was a long time later. Even when Thousand Horse City disappeared in the wave of meta beasts, Li Zongjio only knew about it after a long time. Even if he wanted to trace back, he couldn't find the source at all. Li Zongjio's impression of Feng Qingyu also stopped at 3,000 years ago. It was almost the same as what he saw now. Not bad. Li Zongjio nodded. Looking at Feng Qingyu who was standing before him, he could roughly guess what this lady was going to do. Without a doubt, he was definitely going to receive one of her attacks. Alright, if you can take one of my attacks, I'll let you see our commander. If you can't, then you'll die under my sword. Feng Qingyu said indifferently. Li Zongjio was clearly just a teenager, but his tone and actions gave off an extremely experienced feeling. Feng Qingyu also hated such pretentious people the most. If he was so good at pretending at such a young age, who knew how much of his ability was just an act? When Shan Feng heard this, she wanted to tell Feng Qingyu that Li Zongjio had pushed the Vajra gate back with a single hand. She wanted to be careful and not be careless. However, He Chai pulled Shan Feng back and signaled her not to say anything. As the deputy commander, he naturally had his own pride. Feng Qingyu's pride was her sword. It was extremely fast. If both sides were to fight, basically no one would be able to escape from Deputy Commander Feng Qingyu's sword. Shan Feng also understood. She waved her hand and signaled everyone to back off. Otherwise, it would be bad if they were to accidentally injure someone. Li Zongjio rolled his eyes in his heart. It was as expected. However, if he were to face this sword, Li Zongjio would have to go all out. To be able to become the deputy commander of Thousand Horse City at such a young age, her strength would be even more terrifying. After all, Li Zongjio was not in the body of the evil lord. Come, Li Zongjio said to Feng Qingyu. Seeing Li Zongjio's provocation, the corner of Feng Qingyu's mouth curled into a cold smile. In the next moment she stomped her foot. As the green boots stepped on the ground, a crack spread out. She pressed forward. At the same time, Feng Qingyu's figure quickly swept out. Sword chi spread out. The green longsword in her hand was like a green light that pierced towards Li Zongjio. You are indeed fast. In order to capture this move, Li Zongjio had prepared his mental strength in advance. However, he could only vaguely capture a shadow. Feng Qingyu's figure instantly appeared in front of him. Origin Ancestor level. Grade 4 Origin skill. Green Peak Pierce. Li Zongjio only had time to spread the golden dragon yuan energy throughout his body. Boom. In an instant, the terrifying energy merged into his body. At the same time, it condensed into the strongest defense at his chest. Boom. The green longsword did not touch Li Zongjio's body. Instead, it hovered in front of Li Zongjio. She only needed to take a small step forward, and the green longsword would pierce Li Zongjio's body. Disdain flashed across Feng Qingyu's eyes. Although Li Zongjio had made sufficient preparations and defenses, Feng Qingyu could easily break through them if she wanted to. Therefore, Li Zongjio was only able to react to this move, but he didn't block it. However, Feng Qingyu suddenly smelled something burning. At the same time, she saw a burning strand of green hair floating before her eyes. When she saw Li Zongjio's calm gaze, Feng Qingyu also turned her head to look. She realized that there was another Li Zongjio standing behind her. Li Zongjio's finger was hovering in front of the back of Feng Qingyu's head. The obsidian flame on his finger was burning brightly. When Feng Qingyu saw this scene, her heart was immediately shaken. The Li Zongjio in front of her gradually turned into an illusory figure and disappeared. The Li Zongjio before her was the real body. Put down the flame. Shan Feng had already aimed the crossbow in her hand at Li Zongjio. She was ready to shoot it at any time. The rest of the people were also on high alert. The terrifying power that was released from his finger could easily take Feng Qingyu's life, if it were to touch her gently. At such a tense moment, it was a matter of life and death. There was no room for carelessness. Feng Qingyu was completely dumbfounded. This brat actually dodged her green peak piercer. This caused Feng Qingyu to be greatly shocked. This is impossible. It's useless to be fast. You have to be accurate. Li Zongjio extinguished the flame on his finger and flicked Feng Qingyu's forehead gently, as if he was giving her advice. Shan Feng and the rest were so shocked that their jaws almost dropped when they saw Li Zongjio flicking Feng Qingyu. Could it be that this brat was tired of living? How dare he tease his deputy commander? He was simply courting death. Li Zongjio should have thought about where he would be buried in the future. Feng Qingyu was stunned when Li Zongjio flicked her forehead. She didn't even have time to react. She was still wondering when Li Zongjio had appeared behind her. What kind of method did he use? Could it be that Li Zongjio's speed was faster than hers? Then he was flicked by Li Zongjio. He was stunned, and then he flew into a rage. You're courting death. Although Li Zongjio had dodged her attack, it didn't mean that Li Zongjio could be presumptuous. Once you're in Thousand Horse City, your life is no longer in your hands. Just as Feng Qingyu was about to kill Li Zongjio in a fit of rage, Li Zongjio opened his mouth, and Feng Qingyu couldn't help but stop. I can save your city lord. Save the city lord. Feng Qingyu had left the city in order to find a meta beast. She wanted to extract a key part of its body as a primer for the medicine, and the medicine was to be used to save the city lord. However, the success rate of this method wasn't 100%. However, it could still hold on for a while. In less than 7 days, Nantian Pilking would arrive. She only needed to hold on for 7 days. Li Zongjio's words woke Feng Qingyu up. Although she didn't know if Li Zongjio had the ability to save the city lord, it wasn't a bad idea to let Li Zongjio give it a try. After all, this method was very dangerous. If there was another way, it would be a good choice. Moreover, judging from Li Zongjio's performance just now, he wasn't a simple person who played to the gallery. He was someone with real ability. Follow me. After thinking for a while, Feng Qingyu finally put down the long sword in her hand. She walked forward with a cold face and led the way. Before he left, his gaze was quite clear. If anyone were to speak of today's matter, he would directly kill that person. Looking at Li Zongjio, who followed Feng Qingyu, He Chai felt a chill run down his spine. He admired Li Zongjio from the bottom of his heart. Li Zongjio actually had such ability. He couldn't be more awesome than Li Zongjio. I'm really impressed. If this kid can leave Thousand Horse City alive, he will definitely become a big shot in the future, He Chai said in his heart. Chapter 261. Although Thousand Horse City wasn't big, the people who lived here lived and worked in peace and contentment. There wasn't much of a commercial atmosphere here, and most of the streets were filled with animal skins and vegetables. There were many children training on the drill ground not far from the city gate. When they saw Feng Qingyu and the others pass by, they stopped and greeted the deputy commander. This place was more like a place where the family members of the soldiers settled down. There were more elderly women and children. Feng Qingyu led Li Zongjio into the general's mansion, which was also the city lord's mansion. After all, this was the fief of the old Yuan general, and he could call it whatever he wanted. When Li Zongjio walked into the general's mansion, he could clearly feel that the defense here had been upgraded. Many experts were secretly observing Li Zongjio. If Li Zongjio made any strange movements, they would rush out without hesitation and take him down. Li Zongjio reckoned that even if He Chai or Shan Feng had brought him here, it wouldn't have been so easy for them to enter the general's mansion. Fortunately, he was following Feng Qingyu, so his journey was smooth. After all, Feng Qingyu was a Sky Origin Ancestor level expert, and had over 10 members of the Green Wind Army by her side. These people had all been carefully selected, and had gone through countless trials and tribulations, before they had finally become experts. Qingyu, why are you here? In the hall, there was a majestic-looking man, who was nearly 2 meters tall. He was wearing a white robe, but he gave off an unapproachable feeling. He gave off a sense of oppression. Beside the man, there were 3 old men. Obviously, they had been discussing matters. But when they saw Feng Qingyu and the others enter, they couldn't help but stop talking. Commander, this is Li Zongjio. He came to Thousand Horse City, and I met him at the city gate. He claimed that he could save the general. Feng Qingyu cupped her hands and said, "Oh." The middle-aged man looked at Li Zongjio. Not only that, but the 3 elders on his left and right also looked at Li Zongjio. Qingyu, this. The middle-aged man raised his eyebrows. Wasn't this a little too childish? Most importantly, Feng Qingyu was usually extremely intelligent, and would never do anything foolish. How could he be so foolish at this time? Li Zongjio was so young. Even if he started learning pharmacology when he was in his mother's womb, how many years of experience would he have? Any one of the 3 people sitting next to him had at least 3 times more experience and skill level than Li Zongjio. Just in this aspect, they had already surpassed Li Zongjio. In comparison, it would be difficult for Li Zongjio to become their apprentice. The 3 old men also conversed with each other, pointing at Li Zongjio as they discussed in low voices. Feng Qingyu looked at the situation before her. She gritted her teeth and took a step forward. Commander, don't worry. I can guarantee Li Zongjio's ability. Please let Li Zongjio have a try. Feng Qingyu took the initiative to say. She was actually willing to use her reputation to testify for Li Zongjio and support Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio did not expect this. After all, both of them had never met, and today was the first time they fought. Feng Qingyu's willingness to vouch for Li Zongjio made Li Zongjio feel touched. However, what she said next made Li Zongjio feel as though he had fallen into a trap. If Li Zongjio can't cure the general, I will kill him myself. These words were spoken in a sonorous manner. At the same time, she glanced at Li Zongjio. Her eyes were filled with a sinister smile. This girl obviously wanted to get rid of him. Li Zongjio could not help but shake his head in his heart. A woman's heart was indeed the most vicious. He could not offend this woman easily in the future. Commander Nan, since this young friend is so confident, there's no harm in letting him try. An old man took the initiative to speak. However, after he finished speaking, he turned to Li Zongjio and said, "Young friend, I am Medicine Master Changbai of Changbai Mountain. I have been in the medicine world for more than 50 years. May I know who your master is? Maybe I have some impression of him." Medicine Master Changbai said. Judging from the attitude of the other two, they seemed to be in awe of Medicine Master Changbai. When Pill Master Changbai introduced himself, he could be considered modest. Medicine Master Changbai was now in the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion's evaluation. He was a true medicine king. He was as famous as the South Heaven Elixir King. Although the two of them were in different directions, Medicine Master Changbai was not necessarily weaker than the South Heaven Elixir King if he wanted to refine something. However, medicine masters were particular about recuperation. In order to achieve rapid results, they had to refine elixirs. "I have heard of you. Your standard is not bad," Li Zongjio said to Medicine Master Changbai. To be able to receive such an evaluation from Li Zongjio, one could see that Medicine Master Changbai was a person of true standard. Medicine Master Changbai's face stiffened when he heard Li Zongjio's words. What kind of words were these? This brat was too arrogant. He actually dared to criticize him, the medicine king of Changbai, when he used a medicinal herb to cure the plague and saved hundreds of thousands of people. This brat was still wearing open crotch pants. When Feng Qingyu heard Li Zongjio's words, she chuckled in her heart. Li Zongjio was really bold. He actually dared to say such things about the medicine king of Changbai. It seemed like he was going to suffer. If he couldn't show any real ability, he would really die. If there is no problem, then bring me to see your city lord. The sooner I treat him, the sooner I can leave. I still have things to do, Li Zongjio said. He acted as if he was here to treat an illness. This was too childish. Even the Southern Flame commander, who had gone through hundreds of battles, wasn't clear about Li Zongjio's background. However, since Li Zongjio had offended the Changbai medicine king, he wouldn't let him walk away so easily if Li Zongjio didn't show any ability. Good kid, you are really arrogant. However, I would like to see how good you are. 6 hours have passed. Let's go and see how effective our blood-calming decoction is. Medicine Master Changbai stood up and said. The commander of the Southern Flames tribe stood up and glanced at Li Zongjio as he spoke in a deep voice. Follow me. Li Zongjio followed these people into the inner courtyard. After passing through the screen, they entered the inner courtyard. There were more than 20 black armored guards protecting the courtyard. At the same time, the roofs on both sides were occupied by archers. Even the slightest movement would not be able to reach the inner courtyard. It would be impossible to escape from the inner courtyard. There was an old man bowing at the door of the house in front of him. This old man looked weak, but he was the strongest person in the courtyard. The old man raised his head and saw the group. Commander, Medicine Master. He greeted them one by one, but his gaze was mainly on Li Zongjio. Obviously, Li Zongjio's age had piqued the old man's interest. However, when he took a closer look at Li Zongjio, his gaze became sharp. Who is this? Elder Yuan, this is Li Zongjio. He's here to treat the general. Nanyan hurriedly said. Although Elder Yuan did not have any official position, his status and identity were higher than theirs. More importantly, this old man was a true top expert. If it wasn't for this old man's intervention that day, the general would have already died. If so, please. Elder Yuan nodded at Li Zongjio. After a greeting, he gently pushed the door open. He led the 5 people in, while Feng Qingyu and the others stayed outside to be on guard. At this time, most of the things in the house had been removed. There were a total of 6 buckets of medicinal liquid placed in the surroundings. Under these medicinal liquid, a small fire was used to refine it. At the same time, a yuan inscription array was set up to condense the medicinal liquid. Finally, it landed on the figure lying on the warm jade. The person lying on the warm jade bed was not outstanding. He looked like an ordinary old man. His body was not burly but thin. His hair was white, and there was a green dragon ring on the ring finger of his right hand. Although the old man was lying quietly on the warm jade bed, however, it would occasionally give others the feeling that it was a sleeping dragon lying on top of the warm jade. However, the aura all over its body was still brewing, and had not weakened at all. If he awakened, he would definitely be a dragon soaring to the 9 heavens. It was the powerful Yuan inscription formation of the old man that ensured his survival. It seems that the blood-calming soup is effective. Old General's complexion has recovered a lot, Medicine Master Changbai said with a smile. Chapter 262. Little friend, what do you think of my blood-suppressing soup? Combining the medicinal ingredients with the Yuan inscription formation required a very unique vision and experience to be able to do so. Even Li Zhongjiu couldn't help but nod his head. Not bad, because the effect of your blood-suppressing soup did indeed have a life-saving effect. The Changbai Medicine King was proud, but he couldn't help but find it a little funny. He was a medicine king, but he actually had to listen to this little guy's guidance. Listening to this little guy's praise was meaningless to him, but the effect is very small. If it wasn't for the old city lord's powerful yuan qi, your blood-suppressing soup wouldn't have had any effect. Li Zhongjiu quickly said. This little bit of blood-suppressing soup didn't have any obvious effect on the injured old man. The Changbai Medicine King also knew, but the effect of the blood-suppressing soup was gradual. The effect wasn't obvious at the beginning, but it was better than nothing. Being exposed by Li Zhongjiu in front of everyone, the Changbai Medicine King's face was a little embarrassed. But Li Zhongjiu didn't plan to stop and debate with this person. I'm going to treat the city lord. You guys stay by my side and protect me. If I don't stop, no one is allowed to disturb me. At this moment, even Nan Yin couldn't help but listen to Li Zhongjiu's words subconsciously. Experts at their level were naturally incomparably firm in their will. Once they were influenced by someone, the other party had to be an expert as well. But the person in front of them was giving them orders. It was actually such a young man. They felt it was inconceivable. But Li Zhongjiu didn't care about these people's shock and surprise. Instead, he directly went to the warm jade bed. The power in his hand moved slightly. Immediately, a terrifying power surged out. The obsidian flame appeared in his palm. The old man was seriously injured. Coupled with the existence of the poison, it was the main reason why he was unconscious. If he wanted to wake him up, he had to expel the poison. The process was the same as Gu Xuanwu. It was just as simple. Although the method was simple and direct, it would depend on the specific situation to analyze it when it was applied to a person. The strength of this old man was very strong, and might even be close to that of a Yuan monarch. If Li Zhongjiu was not careful, then it was very likely that he would be injured by the other party's protective origin energy. Martialists who were about to reach the Yuan monarch realm had terrifying amounts of Yuan qi in their bodies. Elder Yuan, look. Nan Yin looked at Old Yuan, who was beside him. Old Yuan was also frowning. There was a strange feeling coming from Li Zhongjiu. It was as if Li Zhongjiu was a top expert. Only those who had reached a certain realm could have such a temperament, invisible confidence and power. Although Li Zhongjiu might not be very strong, Li Zhongjiu's strength might not be that strong. However, as long as Li Zhongjiu was given enough time, he might become a super powerhouse in the future. This was a young man full of potential. Let's take a look first. Old Yuan said. Given the general's cultivation base, even if there is a problem, this kid will probably die. The old general's current situation could be said to be very dangerous. Logically speaking, Li Zhongjiu should not be able to get close to the old general. At the very least, Li Zhongjiu would have to perform well in order to get close to the old general. However, Li Zhongjiu's temperament made them believe in him. Old Yuan's level and cultivation base were higher than theirs. Since Old Yuan had spoken, it proved that he was capable enough to make Li Zhongjiu behave himself. I would like to see what tricks this kid has up his sleeves. The Changbai Medicine King was very unhappy. From the very beginning, Li Zhongjiu had not seemed to take him seriously, and had not spoken much. Even the few sentences he had said had felt like he was giving pointers to a junior. This kid couldn't have gotten it wrong, right? Who is the real senior here? Don't get it wrong. If you want to give pointers, I should be the one giving pointers to you. However, the Changbai Medicine King also knew that the old general's condition was very tricky. Without a certain level of strength, it was impossible to deal with it. As for who had this kind of strength, the Changbai Medicine King did not know. But it was definitely not Li Zongjio in front of him. This Li Zongjio wanted to use this kind of method to show off. After all, if he was not careful, he would die here. Injuries on top of injuries, no wonder it's so serious. Li Zongjio could not help but look at the old general's condition. At first, he thought that it was not that serious. But after being in contact with the old general for some time, he knew how serious the old general's condition was. It could be said that as long as there was an organization, there would be injuries. Some of the old injuries were the kind that were left over from more than 10 years ago. This kind of injury should not have been a problem if it was treated a little when he was young. However, this guy relied on his tyrannical strength to forcefully suppress these injuries and preserve them in his body. Now that he was stabbed in the back and injected with poison, it directly caused these injuries to erupt in an instant. This poison is just an ordinary 5-step soaring snake powder. It's not that powerful. Li Zongjio first used the obsidian fire to directly burn the poison out of his body. Powerful mental energy spread out and directly arranged around Li Zongjio. Then he placed the old man inside as well. Feeling the appearance of Li Zongjio's mental energy, Old Yuan's gaze also began to change. Such a strong mental energy. The Changbai Medicine King had also done some research in this area, and he himself also had mental energy, but after feeling Li Zongjio's mental energy, he deeply sighed. This Li Zongjio's mental energy was like a vast spring. In the eyes of the Changbai Medicine King, this mental energy was already extremely tyrannical. Inside the house, the group could be said to be watching an amazing treatment process. This kind of treatment was extremely rough and extremely direct. After all, there was nothing special in this process. However, there were not many people in the world who could do it as skillfully as Li Zongjio. Feng Qingyu, who was standing outside the house, was extremely nervous and regretful. This time, she was really too impulsive. How could he recommend this guy, with an unknown background to him? Mainly because she knew that Li Zongjio's strength was a little strange, otherwise, he would not have been able to defeat her so easily. However, this was related to the danger of the general's life. She was really too impulsive. If something happened to the general, even if she killed Li Zongjio, it would not help. The general would not be able to come back to life. No, I have to find this guy. At most, I will be punished, Feng Qingyu thought. When she turned around and wanted to go in, she held back. What if this Li Zongjio really had a way? If he succeeded, it would be an opportunity for the general. As for this guy, he could consider himself lucky. If this Li Zongjio was just a person who wanted to fish in troubled waters, he should have been kicked out by now. There has been no other movement for so long. This is too strange, Feng Qingyu thought. Perhaps this Li Zongjio could really cure the general. This was indeed hard to say. Let's wait and see, let's wait and see, Feng Qingyu thought in her heart. In the blink of an eye, 10 hours had passed. Feng Qingyu had been thinking about it all this while. Finally, the tightly shut door was pushed open. A group of people walked out of the house. Feng Qingyu also saw the most shocking scene in her life. She saw Old Yuan and the Southern Flames commander leading the way for Li Zongjio. The 3 old men beside them had a flattering look on their faces as they followed behind Li Zongjio like his followers. Master Li, the medicine is able to cure the illness and bring the dying back to life. This is simply amazing. Dingquan Province's #1 pharmacist, he deserves the title. Bringing the dying back to life, the god of medicine. Chapter 263. Feng Qingyu was impressed by the flattery of these pharmacists. One should know that when these people first came to Thousand Horse City, they all had arrogant expressions on their faces. When had he ever seen these people show such a humble attitude? Li Zongjio, who was walking in the middle, was also indifferent. He did not take these people's flattery seriously. Commander, the general. Feng Qingyu could not help but come to Nan Yan's side. Nan Yan was in a good mood as he patted Feng Qingyu's shoulder. Haha, you have done a great service this time. Brother Li is a miracle doctor. Not only is the general's poison cured, but his injuries are also all healed. The general will be able to wake up at night. Changbai Medicine King could not help but say. In fact, the general was already awake. However, because of the injuries that he had suffered over the years, he would need some time to recuperate after being cured. Now the general's body was in the process of recovery. What they needed to do was to not disturb him and give him a quiet environment while waiting for the general's body to heal itself. This was why Nanyan was so happy. As a Yuan Qi expert, although he did not know how to treat illnesses, it was not a problem for him to check on the condition of the general's body. Moreover, Changbai Medicine King and the others were right beside him. If there was any problem, they would be able to discover it at a glance. When they were in the room, they were already amazed by Li Zongjio's medical skills. Such strength was simply too shocking. No one would have thought that such a young person would have such capabilities. Changbai Medicine King finally believed that Li Zongjio was someone who had the ability to talk about him. He even remembered some of the things that Li Zongjio had said about him. Indeed, he had the ability to guide him. This Feng Qingyu stammered. He originally thought that Li Zongjio would get into trouble. However, it seemed that not only did Li Zongjio not get into trouble, but he had also cured the general. Thinking back to the battle at the city gate, Feng Qingyu began to understand the situation. Li Zongjio's strength was actually far above hers. It was just that he didn't show it. This kid was clearly only at the origin general realm. How could he be so capable? But now it seemed that it was impossible to kill Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio cured the general, so he naturally became the great benefactor of Thousand Horse City. Let's cut to the chase. Can we talk about the reward now? Li Zongjio said. His words were also very straightforward. I am not here to save people for nothing. Moreover, I can save this person and bring his life back, but I also have the ability to take his life away. He was just that domineering. Asking for a little reward was naturally not too much. At this time, no matter what Li Zongjio asked for, Nanyan didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it. After all, Li Zongjio had saved the old general and had already become a guest of honor in Thousand Horse City. With just this favor, it didn't matter what request Li Zongjio had. Even if Li Zongjio wanted to go out and become a city lord, there were ways to help him get it. I thought you were some kind of chivalrous person. It turns out that you are just a money grubber. Feng Qingyu's opinion of Li Zongjio had just improved, but when she saw that Li Zongjio had finally revealed his true colors, she despised him even more. What miraculous hands that could bring people back to life. That was all. He was just a petty businessman. Of course it's not a problem. Master Li, this way please. Gentlemen, please rest in the side hall. I will get someone to prepare some wine and dishes. No problem, no problem. Commander, please go ahead. Even now Medicine King Changbai and the others didn't mind at all. It could be seen that in the room, Li Zongjio had shocked them. Otherwise, they would have turned around and left after receiving such treatment. Why would they want to stay for a meal before leaving? Feng Qingyu naturally came to entertain these old Medicine Kings. Mr. Medicine King, do we still need to look for the medicinal herbs? Feng Qingyu stepped forward and asked. No need, no need. Since Master Li has already taken action and completely cured the general's condition, there is no need to use the supplementary medicinal herbs. Every medicine has a side effect. Taking too much of it will not be good for the body. Medicine King Changbai waved his hand repeatedly. Feng Qingyu could see that in the eyes of Medicine King Changbai, there was incomparable worship and admiration for Li Zongjio. Is he really that godly? Could it be that he has hypnotized them? Feng Qingyu muttered in her heart. Only Elder Yuan was left behind to guard the room. At this moment, the worry between Elder Yuan's eyebrows had dissipated a lot. It could even be said that it could not be seen for the time being. However, in the next moment, there was a trace of killing intent in Elder Yuan's eyes. Since he had the guts to do such a thing, then no matter who was behind this, he must pay the price. Now that the general had recovered, it was a good thing. Otherwise the world would be in chaos. Elder Yuan did not know the purpose of the person behind this for the time being. However, there were not many people in the world who could sneak into Thousand Horse City and escape unscathed. Therefore, It was not troublesome to find them. Li Zongjio and Nan Yin walked into the study room. Master Li has saved the life of Thousand Horse City. No matter what Master Li needs, there is no harm in saying it. Nan Yin handed a cup of tea to Li Zongjio. I wonder if Commander has heard of Qingyuan Villa. Li Zongjio said. Qingyuan Villa? Hu and Jianghu did not know about the existence of this force. Chapter 264. Nan Yin was stunned when he heard what Li Zongjio said. At this moment, the aura that was released from Li Zongjio's body was quite strong. This was a feeling that only a top-notch powerhouse could give him when he spoke. At this moment, it was as if the person sitting beside Nan Yin was not a teenager, but an expert who had the ability to determine one's cultivation. Other things could be faked and acted, but this temperament was not so easy to fake. Since Li Zongjio dared to come and warn the people of Thousand Horse City, it was enough to see that his courage was not simple. If things went wrong, Nan Yin would fall out with him. What else could he do? However, Nan Yin was a soldier after all, so he would do what he said. Master Li, rest assured, if anything happens to Wuxia City, I will hand over my head. Well, then I will take my leave. Send my regards to the general. Li Zongjio said. The general of Thousand Horse City had a prominent military record, but later retired here. When Li Zongjio became famous in his previous life, the old general had already passed away. Moreover, he had an inseparable relationship with this assassination. This time, Li Zongjio did not want to change the fate of these people. It was just that it involved his own interests, so he wanted to make use of it. However, at this moment, Thousand Horse City could be considered as a guarantee for Li Zongjio. I will leave now. Why don't you stay for a meal? After a while, when the general wakes up, he can personally thank you. Nan Yin was also surprised. Who knew how many people wanted to befriend him? If the general knew that it was Li Zongjio who saved him, he would definitely thank Li Zongjio. This was something that many people dreamed of. In the future, who would dare to bully him in the Xingyan dynasty? Just this relationship alone was enough to make many people fearful of him. However, Li Zongjio was actually in a hurry to leave. It seemed that he came here to save people. This really surprised Nan Yin. He was even more confused. I still have something to do, Li Zongjio said lightly. Over the past few days, he had been delayed here and there. It had already delayed Li Zongjio a lot of things. It was said that the examination was very complicated. Li Zongjio also needed to arrive early and make some preparations. Otherwise, if he missed this year's enrollment, he would have to wait for another year. The key point was the universe 9 revolving needles that he had promised alchemist Nan Sheng was also in this heavenly star medicine manor. Therefore, Li Zongjio needed to enter this heavenly star medicine manor immediately. Then I'll send you off. Nan Yin was very fond of Li Zongjio's temperament. After all, Li Zongjio was not a hypocrite. He would speak his mind and speak his mind. Nan Yin liked his straightforward character. If everyone was like him, he would speak his mind. If he couldn't do it, then forget it. Then the world would be much simpler. In front of the city gate, Nan Yin also brought a red horse. It was taller than an ordinary horse by a head. The muscle lines on its body were also unusually beautiful and strong. The horsetail was also full of strength. At first glance, one could tell that it was a precious horse. Our Thousand Horse City is famous for horses. Naturally, we have to have some real skills. This horse is our Thousand Horse City's best horse. It can travel 2,000 miles in a day. No matter where it goes, it will be more convenient. Moreover, it has our Thousand Horse City's horseplate. Ordinary thieves will not dare to block its way. Nan Yin said. He gestured to the horse's neck that had a plate hanging on it. Anyone who rode a horse from Thousand Horse City wouldn't dare to block the road. Even if it was a bandit or a bandit, when they saw the horse plate, they could only turn around and leave. Who would dare to touch the people of Thousand Horse City? Were they tired of living? All right, thank you very much. Li Zongjio did not refuse. When his horse entered the forest, he directly let it go. He originally wanted to go to a nearby city to exchange for another horse. However, now that he had this horse, It was naturally more convenient. Am I seeing things? The commander is actually personally seeing this guy off? Who exactly is this person? Could he be a prince? This is too embarrassing. Just a moment ago, we were thinking of killing him. When He Chai and Shan Feng saw the scene before them, they could not help but feel a deep sense of awe. In the city, the commander was second only to one person. He had absolute authority and authority. Even if the city lord or the sect leader of a sect were to come, they would still have to wait at the entrance. The commander nodded his head and allowed the person to come in for a meeting. Moreover, not everyone could meet him. Some people didn't even have the qualifications to meet them. Li Zongjio had only been in the forest for half a day. Unexpectedly, the commander came out and personally saw him off. Isn't that our blood-maned horse? 1,000 Horse City only has 20 of these horses. Even Deputy Commander Qing Yu didn't get one when she wanted it. Is this guy here to buy a horse? They watched as Li Zongjio led the blood-maned horse away. Needless to say, the hearts of these horse lovers were filled with heartache. This was the same as taking their lives. This horse was precious. Most importantly, it had a pure bloodline. It was very rare to find a horse with such a pure bloodline. Even in front of some high-level meta beasts, this blood-maned horse could still run as if it was flying. It could even defend against enemies. Such a divine animal was led away by Li Zongjio just like that. If it were to be sold in the market, it would fetch a price of at least 3 million gold coins. Such a precious item was given to Li Zongjio in such a dubious manner. Li Zongjio flipped over and landed on the blood-maned horse. He patted the horse's back, and the horse let out a neigh. Let's go. Immediately, the blood-maned horse rushed out like an arrow. It felt like returning to nature. This unscrupulous gallop took Li Zongjio and disappeared from the sight of the people of 1,000 Horse City in the blink of an eye. He can actually subdue this blood-maned horse without making a sound. This person is a natural king. Nan Yin thought in his heart as he watched Li Zongjio disappear before his eyes. He turned around and left as well. Feng Qingyu also sent someone to find him. The general woke up. After hearing the news, Nan Yin immediately rushed back to the general's mansion. Why is everyone in such a hurry today? He Chai scratched his head. But soon, the people of 1,000 Horse City heard a piece of good news. That was their beloved city lord had woken up. The specific situation wasn't revealed for the time being. But when they heard the news, they jumped up and applauded. General's mansion. When Feng Qingyu heard that Li Zongjio had left, her eyes widened. She immediately opened her eyes wide. Why did this guy run away so quickly? Is he afraid that I will take revenge on him? Feng Qingyu was a little angry. Most importantly, this guy didn't even say goodbye to her before leaving. One should know that if she did not vouch for Li Zongjio, the commander would not have let him get close to the general so easily. After such a thing happened, the general needed to be well protected. At such a sensitive time, he would not trust an unknown person. You better not let me see you again. Feng Qingyu could not help but clench her fists. At this moment she wanted to punch Li Zongjio in the face. Fortunately, he had cured the general. Otherwise he would have been skinned alive. He would have been dried alive. Chapter 265. Black North Megacity. As a second-class city in Dingquan province, it was very popular. Many consortiums and merchants were staying here. The competition in such a place was very intense. Some families wanted to take their businesses into the city. However, they would not be able to hold on for long before they were swallowed up by some forces in the city. The competition was too strong. Once there were more people, there would be more scammers. If one was not careful and did not have a backer, he would lose both his wealth and life in the city. It would be difficult for him to do anything. Even if he had a backer, he would need a strong enough backer. Otherwise, he would not be able to hold on. There were countless families, big and small. In the Black North megacity, it was mainly 2 big business alliances and 1 big medicine alliance that controlled the situation. However, even these 2 big business alliances could only control half of the city. The other places were under the joint control of the 5 big families. There were a total of 8 forces that could be counted. There were also many who were pretending to be pigs to eat tigers. The judicial and regulatory departments of more than 10 dynasties. However, there were more youthful and lively auras on the streets recently. It was no longer the aura of fame and fortune. On the Academy Street, all the big academies were also open for enrollment. All the big sects were also recruiting. In order to prevent students from being too biased, the Imperial Martial Pavilion and Heavenly Day Medicine Manor were also staggered in their enrollment. For example, if Heavenly Day Medicine Manor was recruiting now, Imperial Martial Pavilion would be recruiting next month. This actually gave the candidates many opportunities. For example, if Heavenly Day Medicine Manor could not get in, they could consider Imperial Martial Pavilion. This was very humane. After all, no one wanted to miss out on the nurturing of talents. One must know that talents were the most precious thing. They had to grab hold of them. Within 100,000 miles of the Black North megacity, there were more than 20 third-class cities. The candidates from the nearby third-class cities would also gather here. Therefore, there were all kinds of people in the Black North megacity during these days. It seemed to be this lively all year round. The businesses of the candidates were also gradually opened up and never stopped. First of all, the candidates were staying here. The forces of the academies that were recruiting would not be responsible for such things. When Li Zongjie walked into the Black North megacity, he was immediately surrounded by a group of people. "Brother, do you need a place to stay? You must be here to take the exam. Stay at our place. It's only 500 meters away from Academy Street. It's surrounded by delicious food and scenic spots. We have everything you need. 2 blocks away is Fragrance Courtyard. You know what I mean? Little brother, come to our place. Aran has a pleasant scenery and plenty of light. We also have a 200 square meter lake that was dug by hand and has a small bridge overflowing water. It's the best place for a chance encounter." Li Zongjie waved his hand and said, "Everyone has their own way of selling their products." He pulled the blood-maned horse through. These people were really like blood-sucking bats, staring at the new customers. Once you were targeted by these people, you would be brought to some so-called place with mountains and rivers on one side. Then, you would know that any stinking ditch would become a fairy lake in their mouths. Moreover, the asking price was very black-hearted. This was also the reason why Li Zongjie was unwilling to deal with these people. These people could also see that the blood-maned horse that Li Zongjie was leading had an extraordinary aura. Obviously, this Li Zongjie was not a simple person. Otherwise, they would not have chased him from one end of the street to the other end of the street and kept promoting these things. After all, if they managed to get ahead, they would be rewarded handsomely. Academy Street was not that hard to find. Li Zongjie first led the red-maned horse to an inn. The cost of a night in such an inn was at least 1,000 gold coins. It could be considered luxurious. To Li Zongjie, who was worth more than 1 billion, this amount of money was not difficult. Even if he did not have any cash or savings on him, there were still many things that could be used as payment. Inn. Those who could stay in such an inn were mostly children of high officials and nobles. "Sir, please come in. Bring my horse down and feed it well," Li Zongjie said. Along the way, the red-maned horse had displayed its prowess. It did not even pant as it galloped. When it encountered a wide cliff or river, it would directly leap over it. If not for Li Zongjie's good skills and experience, he would have been frightened by the red-maned horse's actions. Along the way, the red-maned horse carried the 1,000 Horse City's horse tag. It was really unobstructed. Along the way, no one dared to stop Li Zongjie. Everyone who saw the red-maned horse from afar had already turned and retreated. This situation also gave Li Zongjie a lot more time. He arrived at the Black North giant city a few days earlier than expected. Okay. When the waiter saw the red-maned horse, he naturally knew that it was not ordinary. After mingling in the Black North giant city for so long, he still had this bit of eyesight. He was afraid that Li Zongjie was not a simple person, because this horse actually came from 1,000 Horse City. The horses of 1,000 Horse City were of pure blood and high quality. Usually, only those with extremely noble status could get their hands on them. If one did not have any connections, It was absolutely impossible to get a horse from Thousand Horse City. Although Li Zongjio did not seem to have anything special, the waiter had already given the shopkeeper a hint. The shopkeeper also met Li Zongjio inside. "Give me the best room," Li Zongjio said. Directly asking for a good room could also reduce and avoid a lot of trouble, such as harassment from some people and so on. When he heard Li Zongjio's words, the shopkeeper's eyes suddenly lit up. "Okay, our supreme suite costs 88,000 per night. May I ask how many nights would you like to stay?" A supreme suite? It seemed that no matter where Li Zongjio went in his previous life, he would stay in such a room. Sometimes he would directly buy a house nearby. If he stayed for a few nights, the price would already be comparable to a house. "I'll stay here first." Li Zongjio took out 100,000 gold coin banknotes and placed them on the table. "Shopkeeper, prepare a supreme suite for our young master." The shopkeeper was counting Li Zongjio's money when he heard that someone wanted a supreme suite. His face immediately revealed a difficult expression. This guest, the last supreme suite, has already been reserved by this guest. However, our happy arrival in still has 2 top-quality garden rooms. The price is 66,000. Before the shopkeeper could finish speaking, a voice rang out from behind him. Before he could finish speaking, he saw the old man walking forward. With a bang, a 1 million gold coin banknote was placed on the table. "What a joke. Do you know what kind of person our young master is? How dare you make our Yulian look inferior? Believe it or not, I'll make sure your Yulian can't continue operating." The old man held his head high. The shopkeeper also looked at the young man behind the old man, who was being served by 2 maids wholeheartedly. His age was about the same as Li Zongjio's. However, the treatment was completely different. "I'm really sorry. This room has already been booked by this young master. If you don't like it, you can go to the Yunlian across the street to take a look." The shopkeeper was still smiling apologetically. From the extent to which this young master was wearing gold and silver, it seemed that he was not to be trifled with. However, this kind of person was most likely a good-for-nothing. If he wanted to join these sects, he was probably here to get in through the back door. Since the Yulian opened its doors to do business, there was no reason for them to offend their customers. Every year, they would encounter these arrogant and domineering young masters, who would fly into a rage if they did not get what they wanted. They had seen this kind of thing many times. They handled it very skillfully. Then, he handed the key in his hand to Li Zongjio, who was waiting in front of him. "My apologies, dear guest, for making you wait for so long. Here is your key." Li Zongjio took the key and turned to leave. There was already a waiter waiting to guide Li Zongjio to the room. "Stop!" The old man directly shouted at Li Zongjio. "Kid, our young master is offering 3 million for your room." Chapter 266. Li Zongjio had only paid a total of 1 million gold coins, which was 3 million gold coins. However, he could earn so much just by reselling the room. This was already comparable to the farm work of an ordinary person for their entire life. However, Li Zongjio had no concept of money. After the old man finished speaking, Li Zongjio turned to the waiter and said, "Continue leading the way." He completely ignored the old man's words. When the old man saw that Li Zongjio was ignoring him and was about to leave, he was instantly enraged and charged at Li Zongjio. "Stop right there. How dare you ignore me?" If he couldn't get this room today, not only would he be finished, but his young master would also be humiliated. In the end, he wouldn't have a good ending either. Immediately, the old man's yuan energy vibrated. He was about to attack and kill Li Zongjio. However, Li Zongjio ignored him, as if he didn't see him at all. Boom! A burly figure blocked the old man's path. He directly blocked the old man's attack. He crossed his arms in front of his chest and glared at the old man in front of him with his bell-like eyes. The old man's palm had landed on him, but it hadn't caused any damage. This was enough to show his strength. "Dear guest, this inn has its rules. If you dare break the rules, you'll be tarnishing our reputation. If you don't want to stay, please leave." The inn manager sneered as he stared at the old man. "You actually want to cause trouble in our happy arrival inn? Do you think this is a small city? In the Black North mega city, everything is regulated. You can't do as you please. If you don't put our happy arrival in your eyes, and want to tarnish their reputation, the inn won't let you off easily. To be able to open an inn in such a big city, one had to have the strength to guard the place. The old man was aggressive, but the person in front of him was obviously not to be trifled with. If the young master had no place to stay tonight, then wouldn't he, as the butler, lose face? All right, old ma, let's go. I'll remember that kid. This young master was straightforward, and did not continue to provoke him. He stood up and left. Before the old man left, he glared at the shopkeeper. Just you wait. Young master, wait for me. Be careful. The shopkeeper of the pleasant arrival inn couldn't help but smile when he saw this scene. These people from third-grade cities thought that the Black North giant city was the same as their city. In fact, everything in this city was even more perfect. All the rules and regulations were implemented very strictly. Even if it was a street brawl, there would still be people who would arrest you directly and send you to the city management office. The city management office was an organization responsible for maintaining the daily operations of the city. It was directly under the city lord's mansion. They were in charge of everything big or small, from fights to exterminating entire families. The various departments with different functions were also in an orderly manner. Although the competition between everyone was very intense, bloodshed was still very rare. After all, there was a minefield that absolutely could not be crossed in such a city. That was contempt for the laws of the land. Once contempt for the laws of the land was committed, one's entire family would be exterminated. The Shengyan dynasty focused on second-grade and first-grade cities. In such a place, there were many experts and powerhouses. Therefore, the laws of the land were more effective. No one could easily break the law and not be punished. However, the feeling of a third-class city was like that of a free-range breeding. This allowed the city lords to stand on their own feet. However, in reality, it was extremely difficult to find a Sky Origin Ancestor level expert in a third-grade city. Even the number of Origin level powerhouses was very limited. To the dynasty, this was nothing at all. For example, Northern Medicine City would definitely not let Zhang Yu be the city lord. It was obviously a waste of resources. If the dynasty wanted to govern Northern Medicine City, they could just send a few Ancestor Origin level special envoys to settle it. Li Zhongjie, on the other hand, successfully checked into the Supreme Suite. This was the reason why Li Zhongjie chose the most expensive one. If something similar to what happened just now happened, the inn would personally come forward to solve it. Even if it had to pay the price of the entire inn, the matter would still be resolved. They would not let the customers face such matters. They had to protect the interests of the customers. After checking in, Li Zhongjie also took a shower and changed into a clean set of clothes. These days he was travel-worn. He had been running for almost 3 days. He directly arrived at Northern Black Mega City. I should be able to find dark attributed crystals in the crystal shops in Northern Black Mega City. Li Zhongjie wanted to search for dark attributed crystals in the nearby primeval forests. However, it was not smooth. Dark attributed meta beasts were rare. Among the various types of meta beasts, these meta beasts were the most difficult to hunt. It was not easy to obtain them. However, one could buy them. With money, everything became simple. Even if I go to the registration place now, it would probably be closed. I'll go tomorrow. I'll walk around the city tonight. It's best if I can find dark attributed crystals. Li Zhongjie thought. Staying in the Supreme Suite, one could enjoy many services. For example, the 3 meals were free. One could eat whatever one wanted. Thousand Horse City. Behind the layers of trees was the mysterious and narrow Thousand Horse City. The general's recovery also brought vitality to Thousand Horse City. General, we've investigated clearly. The assassin is Plum Blossom Ghost, a gold medal assassin from Hidden Flower. Nan Yin said in a deep voice. It doesn't matter who did it. Since we've come into contact with Hidden Flower, we won't have a chance to find out who's behind this. An old man in green clothes said. The green dragon ring on his finger also showed his identity. He was the city lord of Thousand Horse City. To the outside world, He was the city lord. However, to his subordinates in the city, he was a general. How dare Hidden Flower accept such an order? General, we must make them pay the price. Otherwise, they will become even worse. Feng Qingyu said coldly. Born in the army, she naturally developed a ruthless temperament. These people were simply provoking the Almighty. If they didn't fight back, wouldn't these people be even more lawless in the future? That was why Feng Qingyu was so angry. Let's wait for a while. Oh right, is Nantian Elixir King arriving soon? The old general waved his hand. The older he got, the more indifferent he became to fighting and killing. However, these days, as his injuries recovered, the old general seemed to have gradually raised his fighting spirit. Some ancient books that he had never read before were also dug out one by one. After knowing Li Zongjiu's request, he immediately gave an order. 3 whole teams were mobilized, and 2 vice commanders were sent to oversee the situation. They trained the soldiers around Luoxia City. They had to ensure the safety of Luoxia City. This time, they had failed to capture Li Zongjiu. This caused the commander of the Southern Flames Army to be severely criticized. On the contrary, Feng Qingyu, who recommended him, received a lot of praise. This made Nan Yin extremely depressed. Feng Qingyu unknowingly picked up a big bargain. She did not expect Li Zongjiu to be so capable. According to the schedule, he will arrive tomorrow morning. Good. Prepare the herbs I mentioned before. Since he is here, he will not leave empty-handed. Let him refine the elixir for me before he leaves. The old general's mouth revealed a trace of conspiracy and dominance. His skills were honed from the battlefield. If one wanted to take advantage of him, he must be prepared to have his hand chopped off. But General, what you need to prepare is not a healing elixir, but an elixir that can strengthen one's cultivation. Yes. Do you have a problem with that? I dare not. Chapter 267. Black North Colossal City, Golden Brocade Tower. Someone had booked the entire floor of the Golden Brocade Tower to host a party. They had invited a group of singers and dancers to perform. They had also invited many disciples from wealthy families. At the same time, there were also some famous people from some small cities. This gathering was also called the Fellowship Gathering. It was a very good and rare opportunity for the future heirs of the major forces to negotiate with each other. Those who were qualified to come here were not simple people. At the very least, their family background had to be worth more than 10 billion to be qualified to enter. The organizer of this Golden Brocade Tower gathering was the eldest son of the Bei family in Black North Colossal City. He was also the future successor of the Bei family, Bei Holiang. This person was only 23 years old, but he was also a student of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Many of the matters of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor in the city were also taken care of by the Bei family. It was also very good to have such ability. Before these young talents entered the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, they had to rope in some of them to become their own people. At the same time, they had to establish connections with these families. The scale of the Bei family's business was now mature, but it was impossible for it to remain unchanged. Moreover, Bei Holiang himself wanted to establish a business. He also needed to have his own team. It was impossible to directly take over from the top. Without one's own power, it would be very difficult to survive. Therefore, these disciples of the major families had long realized this point and organized this fellowship gathering. Hehe. I still have to thank Brother Bei for your hospitality today. If it weren't for Brother Bei, it would have been extremely difficult for us to broaden our horizons like this. Surrounded by the crowd, a man was also happily responding to the flattery of the crowd. He had a humble look on his face. You're too kind. It's all thanks to you all for giving me face. Otherwise, my social gathering would have been completely ignored. That person was Bei Holiang. His back was straight, and his eyes were like an eagle's. On the surface, he looked very refined. Although the robe he was wearing was low-key and plain, it was very expensive. Brother Bei, it seems like most of us have arrived. Why don't you tell us a little about the Heavenly Day Medicine Manor's recruitment process? That's right, Brother Bei. You're a disciple of Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. If we join Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, we'll have to rely on Brother Bei's care. Haha, don't be anxious. This time, we still have one person who hasn't arrived yet. Let's wait for him, Bei Holiang said. His words shocked everyone. There was actually someone who could make Bei Holiang wait for him. Did this person have 3 heads and 6 arms? However, the mysterious veil of this person was quickly removed. A figure appeared at the door, and beside him were 2 beautiful and gentle maids. When some people saw this person, their eyes flickered. They never would have thought that it was actually this person. Although this person was relatively low-key, his reputation had already spread among these people for a long time. This person could be said to be a legend. Could this person be from Shuiyao Spirit City? That genius? From the Water Jade Spirit City? That place can produce alchemy geniuses. It's rumored that this person is proficient in medicinal herbs. He can refine second-grade pills single-handedly. His skill is unfathomable. He's not even 17 years old, but he's already a third-grade mid-grade alchemist. This kind of talent is beyond our reach. I didn't expect Brother Bei to invite such a person. I heard that the Heavenly Day Medicine Manor's Earth Branch Vice Principal has the intention to accept this person as a disciple, someone said in a low voice. Only after hearing this sentence did everyone truly realize how terrifying the potential of the guy from the Water Jade Spiritual City was. There were 2 courtyards in Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, the Heavenly Gong Courtyard and the Earth Branch Courtyard. These 2 courtyards were also competing with each other. Only in this way could they improve faster. Otherwise, these people would be lazy and think that they don't need to work hard just because they have some talent. This kind of method was used to motivate each other. Therefore, the appearance of a genius was a very precious resource for them. They would be a good helper in the competition in the future. Since the Earth Branch Vice Principal had decided on this person so quickly, it should be because the Vice Principal deliberately spread the word. In fact, he still had to go through a selection process. However, the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor would not let such a genius slip away so easily. Therefore, this person should be an extremely popular commodity now. Hee, that's right. That's why I invited this person here today. You should make more friends with him. Bei Holiang's eyes flashed. There were many geniuses. However, if a genius was unwilling to obey, then it was very likely that he would disappear from this world unknowingly. If a genius could not be used by him, then it was very likely that he would become an enemy. How could Bei Holiang let such a situation happen so easily? If one had to say, this was indeed better than a Hongmin banquet. Although everyone was laughing on the surface, in fact, they were also observing the surrounding situation and judging each other's strengths and weaknesses. Everyone, let's get to know each other. This is Zhang Hexuan from the Water Jade Spiritual City. Bei Holiang led everyone to the front of Zhang Hexuan. Zhang Hexuan also pushed aside the 2 maids beside him. In front of Bei Holiang, Zhang Hexuan did not dare to be too arrogant. He was the young master of the Bei family, one of the 5 great families in the Black North megacity. His status was unknown, although the Water Jade Spiritual City and the Black North megacity were almost the same. The difference between their backgrounds was like heaven and earth. This time, the elders of the family had said that they must make friends with influential people. If they did not make friends with these people, with his talent, he would definitely become a thorn in their side. Therefore, they had to choose a strong person and make friends with them directly. This was what they were born to do. If the people of the lower class wanted to climb up, they had to rely on these methods. Therefore, Zhang Hexuan was very clear about his status. Perhaps one day, when his strength and influence surpassed Bei Holiang, he would be able to surpass him. However, now is not the time. Greetings, young Master Bei. Zhang Hexuan cupped his hands and said, just call me Brother Liang. There's no need to be so distant. Today we are all brothers here. Brother Liang. Bei Holiang was very satisfied when he heard this. He laughed and drank a cup of wine. Bei Holiang looked at Zhang Hexuan in front of him. He seemed to have a trace of worry on his face. He frowned and said, Brother Hexuan, what's the matter? Sigh, let's not talk about this matter. It's my fault that I didn't know the rules. Zhang Hexuan pretended to wave his hand. When he said this, Beihou Yang and the others stared at him. Rules? Tell me, who in this city has offended you? Since you are my brother, offending you is the same as offending me, Beihou Yang. Beihou Yang was immediately angry. If he could not even protect his brother, then what was the point of being the young master of the Bei family? Although he did not say this on the surface, this was the general meaning. I met someone in the Yuelian. Zhang Hexuan immediately told him what happened this morning. Of course, during the process, he also added some details. Li Zongjio became the person who occupied his room. The reason why he said this was to find a way out. He wanted Beihou Yang to do something for him, and deliberately do him a favor. In this way, he could smoothly grow and stand on Beihou Yang's side. Otherwise, he could not become sworn brothers with Beihou Yang after meeting him today. This move, Zhang Hexuan also played it flawlessly, and Li Zongjio was just a stepping stone. Li Zongjio's death had already been decided. Even if he didn't die, he probably wouldn't be in a good state. Given Beihou Yang's strength, it would be very easy for him to kill a foreign kid in the Black North metropolis. Brother Hexuan, don't worry. Leave this matter to me. Tomorrow, I will personally appear for you. The corners of Beihou Yang's mouth curled into a cold smile. Zhang Hexuan was very smart. After this matter was resolved, he would naturally pull Zhang Hexuan over. At the same time, the most important thing was to let Zhang Hexuan see his strength. Chapter 268. At night, Li Zongjio returned to his room. He had only managed to buy a few level 1 yuan crystals. Of course, they were all dark attribute. Even the 3 dark attribute yuan crystals in his hands had almost emptied Li Zongjio's savings. After returning to his room, Li Zongjio placed the dark attribute yuan crystals in his hands and mobilized the black dragon origin spirit within his body. Immediately, a wave of dark attribute yuan qi gushed out of his body and absorbed the dark attribute yuan crystals. At a speed visible to the naked eye, the power of the dark attribute yuan crystals receded rapidly. In the end, only a pile of dregs was left in his hands. The other 2 crystals had suffered the same fate. The dark attribute yuan spirit wasn't satisfied. However, its hunger had weakened slightly. Li Zongjio had a rough idea of what it needed to truly recover. It seems like I need a yuan monarch yuan crystal to awaken this fellow. Li Zongjio thought to himself that this fellow was really greedy. It would be extremely dangerous to hunt a yuan monarch grade dark attribute yuan beast. Furthermore, it would take enough time for Li Zongjio to become that powerful. As for buying it with money, just a yuan monarch yuan crystal alone was enough to bankrupt the entire Wuxia city. That kind of thing couldn't be bought with money, let alone a yuan monarch yuan crystal. Its value would be doubled from its original value. It seems like it will still take a lot of time to awaken you. However, these 3 great yuan spirits are enough for me to use for now. Ordinary people who possessed 1 innate yuan spirit would be able to cultivate for the rest of their lives. Li Zongjio, on the other hand, had 4 natural primordial spirits. This was already the limit. If he wanted to unleash all of this power, it would not be so easy. Li Zongjio adjusted his breathing and began to enter this endless state of cultivation. The blood dragon soul didn't need to be cultivated. Li Zongjio's murderous aura was even stronger than the blood dragon sovereign's. Otherwise, how could he have killed him? However, the golden dragon soul and the white dragon soul needed to be continuously trained by himself. Currently, all of them could be used to strengthen their spiritual power. It was this boundless stone. Once my mind power reaches grade 4, I will be able to take out the boundless stone. When that happens, my cultivation speed will be even faster. Currently, Li Zongjio's elemental energy cultivation was merely at the yuan general level. Such strength could be considered outstanding in places like Wuxia City or North Water City. However, in the Black North metropolis, he was simply a child who had just learned how to cultivate. Perhaps, he would be judged as a person with mediocre talent. With such strength, in a place with so much competition, it was simply not worth paying attention to. Therefore, Li Zongjio's elemental energy cultivation still needed to be strengthened. After a night of cultivation, in order not to miss the registration time, Li Zongjio left early. He was going to find Academy Street and register for the Tianqian Medicine Manor. No matter what method he used, he had to enter the Tianqian Medicine Manor. Li Zongjio had thought that he had arrived early enough. However, when he saw the long queue on Academy Street, he realized how late he was. He hadn't expected that the great evil lord of his previous life would actually have to queue here. This was simply an insult to him. Li Zongjio felt indignant every time he thought of this. However, waiting for a while wasn't a big deal. Then he would just have to wait. Therefore, Li Zongjio also waited quietly in the queue. "Kid, go to the back." Seeing that it was almost his turn, Li Zongjio had already waited for an entire morning. Suddenly, someone came to the side. When he saw the greasy body of the other party, he frowned. "What are you looking at? Haven't you seen someone cutting the queue? Hurry up and go to the back and queue again." When that person saw Li Zongjio's dumbfounded look, he immediately bared his teeth. Li Zongjio directly greeted the other party's face with a punch. Bang! Bang! The person fell to the ground quietly. Next, after hearing this, Li Zongjio directly stepped on the person under his feet. Facing those who forcefully cut the queue, Li Zongjio didn't hold back at all. This kind of thing had to be tolerated. Otherwise, these people would think that everything was so easy. Name: Li Zongjio. Place of birth: Dingquan Province, Wuxia City. Age: 17. Li Zongjio calculated. It should be around this age. This is your number plate. There is a task on your number plate. You have to complete it before tomorrow. Li Zongjio took the number plate from the other party. Number 1942. In other words, the number of people who signed up for this Heavenly Day Medicine Manor was close to 2,000. Task: this Heavenly Day Medicine Manor was really a pain in the ass. They carved such a small line of words on such a small wooden number plate. There was a task written on it. Prepare a bottle of wrong acid with a ratio of 1 in 10,000. What kind of task is this? Li Zongjio couldn't help but ask. What did you say? Li Zongjio's ridicule didn't go far. The old man in charge of registration heard it, but he didn't hear it clearly. Nothing, Li Zongjio said. If they heard this, they might directly cross off Li Zongjio's name. In that case, Li Zongjio would be completely disqualified. However, it had to be said that this task was relatively unpopular. As an alchemist, Li Zongjio obviously knew what it was. However, those who didn't have enough experience and foundation wouldn't know what wrong acid was at all. This was because there were very few opportunities to use it. It wasn't common. Even if one spent a day going to all the pharmacies in the entire Black North megacity, they probably wouldn't be able to buy it. One had to do it personally to complete it. In the first round, one could usually fake it because there was no one following them. Perhaps their task was relatively simple. Some experts or even some alchemists could complete it. However, this was only the first round. There was a real test waiting for them later on. Li Zongjio went to 2 pharmacies and prepared the required items. One of them was salamander poison, and the other was acid. The acid was a type of metabeast saliva. Salamander poison was highly toxic. If used incorrectly, one would be poisoned and die suddenly. In less than 3 minutes, one would suffer from respiratory failure and be unable to become a legend. One would be suffocated to death. Acid had strong healing power and viscosity. It was used to suture wounds in an emergency on the battlefield. Not only could this wrong acid be used to suture wounds, but it also had a great healing effect on injuries. The problem was that it was very difficult to match the exact ratio. However, this wasn't a problem for Li Zongjio. Using his mental strength, he easily extracted a trace of salamander venom and fused it with the acid. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.